Tanz für Sieger. Kriegsminister gibt's nicht mehr und auch keine Düsenflieger.
Hello, good evening. I am going to call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. For the audience that are here tonight and joining us online, I am Karen Davis, and tonight I will be presiding over this meeting as the mayor is joining us remotely. Just ask that in consideration of others, you please silence your phones and any other electronic devices. And tonight, Mayor Friedendahl is joining us remotely, and so I will ask the Deputy City Clerk to read that information into the record.
Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members, pursuant to Government Code 54953B, this meeting will include a teleconference location at 632 Columbia Road, North Washington, D.C., 2001. Mayor Friedendahl will participate in the meeting via teleconferencing under the traditional Brown Act methodology. The public shall have the opportunity to address the City Council at this teleconference location pursuant to Government Code, Section 54954.3. All votes during the teleconferencing session will be conducted utilizing the agenda management system. In the event of a technical issue, the vote will be conducted by roll call. The teleconference location is accessible to the public, and the agenda was posted at the teleconference location 72 hours before the meeting.
Thank you very much. And in addition to Mayor Friedendahl joining us remotely, council members Elias, Alawas, and Thompson and myself are present here tonight. At this time, I'll ask the city attorney to read the closed session into the record.
Yes, Vice Mayor. The council will be meeting in closed session regarding existing litigation, which is authorized pursuant to Government Code Section 54956. .9D1 regarding pending litigation to which the city is a party. The title of the litigation is Oscar Ojeda versus City of Glendora, Los Angeles Superior Court case number 25 SCC P00661. And there was a separate item that came up after the posting of the agenda on Thursday. And we would like to add an urgent item, which is also existing litigation. Which is authorized also pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1 regarding the case listed as Diane Belarez, Ron Belarez versus City of Glendora, Los Angeles Superior Court case number 24 PSCV 02188. And that to add that item would require a 2/3 vote supermajority.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to include that item?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, we will go on to our public comment time. I invite members of the public to address this body either in person or if we have had any written correspondence. Do we have any public comment cards at this time?
We do not, Mayor Pro Tem.
And have we received any items in writing?
No, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. All right, well then I will close the public comment time and recess this meeting and convene us into closed session at 6:04 p.m. I'd like to reconvene our meeting back into open session at 7 p.m. and ask our city attorney to report out of closed session.
Yes, Vice Mayor, honorable council members, council met in closed session on 2 items tonight regarding existing litigation to which the city is a party. Each are authorized pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. The case titles of the litigation is Oscar Ojeda versus City of Glendora, Los Angeles Superior Court case number 25 STC P00661. And the second item was added as an urgency item, which was unanimously approved to be added to the agenda for closed session. And that case was Diane Bellares and Ron Bellares versus City of Glendora, Los Angeles Superior Court case number 24 PSCV V02188, and in both items, the council tentatively approved the settlement with the plaintiffs and subject to receipt of a final version of the settlement agreement for signature, authorized the settlement.
Thank you, Mr. Alshire. For those of you just joining us now at 7 p.m., welcome. We thank you for joining us tonight. As you will note, council members Elias, Alawas, and Thompson and myself are here present in person. Mayor Friedendahl is joining us via Zoom tonight, so I will invite the Assistant City Clerk to read the Brown Act information.
Honorable Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members, pursuant to Government Code 54953, this meeting will include a teleconference location at 632 Columbia Road, Northwest Washington, D.C., 2001. Mayor Friedendahl will participate in the meeting via teleconferencing under the traditional Brown Act methodology. The public shall have the opportunity to address the City Council at this teleconference location pursuant to Government Code 54954.3. All votes during the teleconferencing session will be conducted utilizing the agenda management system. In the event of a technical issue, the vote will be conducted by roll call. The teleconference location is accessible to the public, and the meeting was posted at the teleconference location 72 hours before the meeting.
Thank you. Again, this is a public meeting. We thank you for being here. If you have a phone or electronic device, we just ask you to please silence that and to refrain from speaking unless called upon. But we thank you all for being here tonight, and those of you joining us online or TV, thank you for joining us as well. Tonight, as we get ready to begin, our invocation will be offered by lay leader Terry Merrick of the Glendora United Methodist Church, and our Pledge of Allegiance will follow that and will be offered by former Mayor Gary Boyer. At this time, if you are able, I invite you to please stand.
So I have to, we're doing the invocation first, right? Okay. I read because if I don't, I'll go off on tangents. My Lord and my God, the Bible encourages us to approach the throne of grace boldly, to receive mercy and grace in our time of need. So here I am coming boldly to ask that a spirit of mercy and grace would fall upon our town. The Bible also says that you, Lord, are good to all and have compassion on everything you've made. So I ask that everyone and everything that lives, works, plays, studies, shops, or just passes through our borders in this town would experience your goodness and your compassion. And then we would pass it forward, showing compassion to every creature and critter that we meet. Finally, the Bible says that if anyone is lacking in wisdom, they should ask you and you will give it to them generously and unbegrudgingly. I don't think that I completely lack wisdom or anyone else in this room completely lacks it, but we can always use more, Lord. And you know that the needs in our community are many and the fishes are few. So give us the wisdom, the faith, hope, and love to multiply the fishes so that all are fed and provided for and no one goes away wanting. And finally, I ask that you would bless the work of our council members, the city staff, and everyone else who does the good, hard work of serving this community. Bless them, bless their friends, bless their families, and may we all do the good and difficult work that it takes to really love our neighbors. I ask all of this in Jesus' name, and the people said, amen. Thank you.
Okay, please join me in a pledge to our flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer, and thank you, Terry, who is filling in at the last minute for Alva Rodriguez, who had a family emergency. So thank you both. This time, is there anyone who wishes to reorder or have any additions for the agenda?
No.
Okay, thank you. Then we will go on to public comment. Invite members of the public to address us, and if you have not already filled out a speaker card, please do so. This public comment time is for any item. If you are wishing to speak on one of the public hearing items, those will be addressed later when those particular items come up. So, thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask Marcia Mason to come up, please.
Why did you call me first? Okay, here I go. Council members, FROG, the restructuring of the civic buildings, trying to find funds to help the city to restructure part of its own city-owned buildings. We've been meeting and with concerned citizens and taken hours and days out of our personal time to try and help the city come up with answers for funding and restructuring of these buildings because we care. And we were told that there might be 8 to 10 million available to get us started out of the general funds, and that we would have 3 workshops throughout the summer to brainstorm finding funds for the city. Well, I came to the first workshop last week, and I was a little disappointed. There was no serious mention of any city restructuring. I know that that's going to come down the road, but I was disappointed when I was there because the workshop was used to explain why the city went ahead and spent the money on other projects. And the excuse was that the $12 billion wouldn't put a dent in any restructuring. My feeling is if the city doesn't care about its buildings, why should its residents? And if the $12 million were left in the general funds and earmarked for civic improvements, though not enough to make a dent, maybe by next year the general funds would have another amount, some more millions that we could put together into like an earmarked savings account or something for the restructuring of these buildings. It might even make a dent in the transportation yard to rebuild that one, that one office building that is in such bad shape. So it might make a dent. And then if we got another million or two from Barger's office or find funds here and there, that earmark account would increase. But if the city doesn't set these funds aside, and why should Barger's office care to fund us if our own city isn't going to spend the money for restructuring? So I don't feel like the workshop was a workshop, but I know that hopefully it will be in the future, and look forward to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. Tomoko Tolan?
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. I'm Tomoko Tolan. I'm also speaking on behalf of FROG. The FROG Committee had met for over a year prior to us deciding on going forward with a parcel tax. And it was only after listening to the community and after the town hall that we had that we decided, and it was a very difficult decision, not to move forward on a parcel tax measure. So when Mendel and Michael had talked about doing these workshops, I was pretty excited. It was a great way to get the community involved, to get their input. And I, too, was disappointed from the first workshop. The the city had gone to, it was a great presentation going back into history on how we got to this point, but I do feel that it was an attempt to spend $12 million on something that could have gone meaningfully to the long list of repairs that were needed. And instead, a large bulk of that went towards the roads. And the roads definitely need repair. There's no question about that. But we passed Measure E, and the funds are there, and we expect the roads to be in good condition. That's part of the city infrastructure. The workshops came about after the discussions on the city facilities. So I'm looking forward to the second workshop where you're focusing only on the city yard and on the library. And I'm hoping to hear some really good input from the community and creative ideas on how those two buildings can be assessed. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Boyer?
Okay. Okay, my name's Gary Boyer, and I'm here tonight as a member of the Frog Committee. And the comments I'm about to make are extremely difficult for me because I consider each one of you friends. And for the most part, I believe you're doing a pretty good job. However, sometimes friends need to have uncomfortable conversations. Needless to say, I'm extremely disappointed after the first workshop. The workshop was supposed to be an interaction between the residents and the council, but it appeared as though minds were made up before the workshop began. You even had a menu of items to consider, and nothing that wasn't on that menu was even talked about. And I'm going to assume that menu was created by Adam. Karen, you talk constantly about the council needs to have the strength to have the political will to make tough decisions. Yet at the workshop, you made a decision, you made the easiest decision, and I can only assume that you're making decisions based on the loudest voices. Michael, you claim the library can be fixed for $10 million, even bragging about the fact that we're asking Sacramento for a grant for $10 million, but we couldn't fix it with $12 million of our own money. The public works yard plan was defeated a few months ago because there was an estimated cost of around $12 million, and we couldn't afford it. But last Tuesday, we spent $12 million on a lot of small projects. The city has a water plan, we've got a streets plan in place, and Valerie outlined a pretty good facilities maintenance plan at the workshop. Yet you took the $12 million one-time opportunity and you spent it on a lot of little items that were maintenance, basically ignoring the plan that you just created. At 6 o'clock last Tuesday, we had a one-time opportunity of $12 million that could have made a huge impact and sent a message that we're finally ready to address the big projects that have been kicked down the road for decades. We probably will not have that amount of money again for decades. There are 2 additional workshops scheduled. I hope the community feedback is going to be considered. The Frog Committee is a group of concerned residents that spent over a year discussing this. We even stuck our necks out to try to create a revenue stream to address it. And the biggest pushback that we got with that revenue stream was that there was a concern the money was not going to be spent the way it was intended. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. I'd like to call up Corinthian Frank Bates.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Corinthian Frank Bates, coming to you for an incident that happened at 4/30/25 of last year. I was pulled over by police officers in regards to, didn't know this was the claim until I went and got this paperwork. Then I'm taking pictures of little kids. Now, I know slander and everything goes around like a virus, and I have neighbors that's been harassing me since I moved here. I'm a homeowner. I don't disrespect nobody. I don't go to anybody with anything. I don't, if anything, people approach me. I don't approach people. I don't name call people. But these neighbors even got a restraining order on me, not once, but twice by two different judges, and were denied. And the slander keeps coming up. This whole thing keeps coming up, and I want to stop. I want a full investigation. These people, I know they've made these statements to the police officers. This is a misdemeanor. And I'm the one being harmed. My family, my wife is being harmed. We're caretakers. My wife is a nurse. I met her when we were at the Pasadena Humane Society. I even have her in recording saying we're animal abusers. And I don't need this from neighbors. I don't need this kind of disrespect. My daughter was bullied for 3 years while she was at Sandburg. And my wife is scared. I'm not. I'm scared to the point that my family could be harmed and threatened. But I ask if somebody does something about it, look into it. Get the facts together before allowing your city workers or anybody else getting involved with this slander with my neighbors. It's sickening. It goes around like a virus, especially when you're talking about kids. I have two of my own, two little daughters. And I don't coerce my kids to go giving other kids problems. That seems to be some of the problems going on around here. You guys don't like new people moving into the city? That's a problem. That's what it seemed like. The neighbors greeted my wife and kids, but never greeted me when we first moved into the house as if I was a problem. I don't know what it is. I ask you to look into it deeply and don't accept the words of my neighbors and look into the facts. And if you want to bring me to the table on the video, I'm more than welcome to give them to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. We'll share your information from the speaker card with the police department, and we can follow up. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else wishing to speak at this time? If so, please fill out a speaker card. Seeing no others, then do we have any correspondence?
We do not, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, I will close public comment and bring it back to the council for comments. Councilmember Elias.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Last week I had the honor to be with our Glendora Rotary Club at their meeting and speak to them and introduce myself and give a little bit about my background and some of the things I've been doing with the city. So I appreciate that. And then we'll talk about this later, but it was also brought up at public comment. So I'll just say thank you to the individuals who showed up last week to our workshop. Not as many people showed up as I would have hoped, but I do appreciate the folks who took time out of their evening. Some of them were there with us till, 10 o'clock almost. So that is greatly appreciated. You know, I can only speak for myself. Those are hard decisions to make on what we spend money on, and it's a balance of what you feel would be most beneficial to the most amount of people in the city. So, I'm sorry if people are disappointed, but, I hope that at the very least, that at least, for me, I'll only speak for myself, it didn't go without a lot of thought. And, it might be different than some people would have hoped for, but, there was a lot of thought put into that. And not in advance on my part. I really went into that with an open mind and not knowing until we finally decided what I was going to vote to allocate those funds towards. So I'm looking forward to the next workshop, which is the larger projects, the Civic Center, library, Public Works Yard, because that is the bigger project. So I hope everybody will stay engaged and attend, and ask your friends and neighbors to attend, because we need the feedback. It's not always easy to hear, but we need to hear it. So I appreciate you guys coming. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Alawas?
Thank you. Yesterday, our subcommittee at the COG met concerning SB 79, which is the high density around half mile, quarter mile around the Gold Line station or the A line, whichever you want to have the flavor of the day, about the high density that they're putting in place. And we had a lot of questions. We had a member from HCD there, which was strange to have and welcome to have. It was nice interaction. We had a lot of questions for him. We had written questions that he went ahead and gave us answers for, which actually led to more questions. That we had concluded our third and final meeting, and we're supposed to give a report out, but we don't have enough information still because the more questions we ask, the more we have unknown information because they seem to be making this up on the fly of what the rules are. They have a preliminary map of the half mile and quarter mile radius around the station. And that's not in place yet until I believe July 2nd or July 4th or sometime in that time frame when we'll have a final map of where it really goes to. And so we're going to actually ask to extend our meetings for another at least 2 more so we can gather the information and then bring it back to you folks of what we really found and what we're going to be expecting. As with the Frog Committee, I met with one of the members for several hours and presented information and had an idea. We had $8 to $12 million. 5 of us had to figure out how to do this. The staff report was out there in the public of all the items. There's about 200 items that were on there for facilities. And then we had a bunch of roads that under consideration as well. As we all know, that the top pick for the survey was roads to get them taken care of. That was a big concern of, in fact, it was, I think, the top of the survey that we had. But also, we had a number of the facilities, and we took a lot of the facilities. Like I said, under my metrics, it was about 50% of those items that were on the facilities, excluding City Hall, and of course, the 2 big items, the corporate yard and the library. We took down a good majority of those, close to 50% of those items, and staff's going to have quite a bit of work to do, and they still have to come back out and report and put a list together of what their accomplishments are. Item 3, you're going to have a report tonight on special item as far as what we did vote on and what we did do. But again, going back, I had a nice conversation, and we had some consensus of what needed to get done. As far as the library is concerned, we do have a letter in of request for funding for next year's cycle for about $10 million for the library to fix it. We still have to go through and do some engineering and figuring out what will work and what won't work. On the next meeting, there's my kitchen cabinet. Some members are going to be showing up with some drawings showing what can be done for basically is the water intrusion has made things challenging. We have electrical work and some roof work that needs to get done as well. And that will be addressed in that. We did a tremendous amount of research over several months and talked to people way back that were city managers at the time when it was built, to get an idea of what really is going on with the building, as well as the contractors who worked on it. So we weren't in a position to even make a presentation last Tuesday to what to do with the library because we were still working on solutions moving forward. We should have a good bullet point presentation coming up at the next meeting for consideration for council and to move forward. We're also going to be working on long-term funding to help see if we can somehow float with cash flow monies to fix all the different facilities. But we did a great deal of work on there, and I believe Adam's going to give us a report on that on item 3 of what we spent it on moving forward. So again, appreciate everyone that came out. It was a lot of work. They had, an hour or so to tabulate all of our findings and everything, but to have 5 people come to the conclusion of about, 72% in the same direction without us working together, it's kind of amazing because it would have been easier almost to have a box of darts and throw it on a wall. But Adam put together a spreadsheet based on the staff report, and I believe, did a pretty good job with the funds that we had. It was $8 to $12 million, and we spent just shy of the $12 million. So please stay tuned for the item 3 on the special report that Adam's going to be giving. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson?
Michael, thank you, and I echo everything that you just said. You said it well. Shauna, thank you for the comments that you made. I would simply add one other thought to that. I think the last time that we met up here, Michael shared that he and I had had a 2.5-hour meeting with Adam, with Moises, and I can assure you that that just wasn't a one-and-done type thing. We continue to talk and address how we can find additional funds, and we are looking at ways that we can do that. And that is not a sales pitch for anything. It is simply a fact. And I can assure you, we're not coming up with 20 million or 100 million, but we do think that we have the ability to come up with some other funds that can continue to enable us to do a lot of the work that Frog and that we and that you want to have done. So continue to come with an open mind, and we offer you an open mic, which is not consistent with how we have to do it here. But for the 45 or 50 folks that showed up, I think that they had every chance. Some had even more than one chance to talk. So we are serious about this, and so continue to block those dates out and come. I'd also just like to end with one thing. The 4th is, coming up. It's a very special 4th for the country that we love. 250 years, but the reality is that fireworks and our mountains don't coexist well. And as all of us know, we just had a fire to the east of us that was knocked down very, very fast. We've all experienced the fire to the west of us, where it's a frozen storage area. But let's just really make sure that we party well and party safe, and don't get enticed by all of the fireworks. Go down to the beach and watch them, or some other place. But let's don't have fires here. So I hope everybody does have a great 4th, and that's it. Thank you.
That's a great segue to Mayor Friedendahl, who right now is in Washington, D.C., celebrating with the Daughters of the American Revolution and all that they're doing around the 250th. So, Mayor Friedendahl, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Karen. And yes, it is a pretty exciting place to get to be during this time of our country's life. City looks good, lots of things happening, and 250th is a prevalent subject going right now. Getting back to the workshop last week, I too would like to thank very much the community that participated and was able to come and share. And I hear the comments made by the powerful representatives from the Frog Group that shared disappointment tonight. I think we're all disappointed in the fact that how do we do what needs to be done with a little bit? And sadly, the limit was what it was as far as dollar amount. So the choice was to split between what the surveys say of streets is what people see, streets is what they touch. So roadways got a lot of attention, as did public-facing facilities. If we go put it into a lump sum into a public works yard, which needs the work, there's no discounting that. The sad thing is, I'd bet the majority of our community has no idea where that yard actually is and would not see the work. So we decided for the initial swing at it, let's put it into the things that the public goes to, the facilities they use, the facilities that rent out, that the public from outside of the community come and utilize, and our forward-facing opportunities, and let's do that. So a collaborative group, we did so. Our next workshop on July 21st will tackle many of the larger items and how to fund those. And hopefully we'll have some additional information from some grant opportunities and perhaps state funding to help get a number that makes it attainable. So we're looking forward to that. I look forward to the comments from the referenced kitchen cabinet, but also more than a dozen of the community members this next time. Tell us how. I think we all know the what, but give us the help to figure out how so we can then do the what. So I look forward to that. I want to thank staff and the community for their participation. The work staff did to put together nearly 4,000 pages of reference information to learn about what the projects are and the needs are was an incredible job, and they did a fabulous job. So thank you for laying those first steps, and let's keep moving. So thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things I wanted to mention. Glendora gets to kick off summer with our first concert in the park this Sunday night, the 28th. And you may ask, what is classic rock? Well, the answer is the Answer Band. So be there this Sunday night for the concert at 6 p.m. And then also tonight, I'd like to ask that we adjourn our meeting in memory of former council member and Mayor Marshall Mao. Marshall died last week. He served the council for 13 years from 1990 to 2003. And his day job, he was a mail carrier for the U.S. Postal Service. So in both that job and what he did on the dais, he was committed to serving the public and any and all circumstances, and did so very well. He was a big proponent for the building of the skate park, the Tim Crowther Teen Center. He began his political career with a place that we all know and love, Centennial Heritage Park. He was one of the folks instrumental in trying to get that protected along with the Preservation Foundation. He saw that orange grove and wanted to protect it so that we'd have some semblance of what Glendora was all about. And then also he helped found the Glendora Beautification Committee. Just last Wednesday, we recognized many homes in the community, and that was a dream of his to have that opportunity to recognize people that beautify the community and their properties. So we are grateful for his many contributions. So tonight we'll be adjourning in his memory. So I go on to staff. Mr. Raymond, anything? Mr. Alshire? All right, very good. Then I will bring it back to the council for special items. As mentioned previously, item 3 tonight is a recap of our foundation and funding workshop last week. And City Manager Adam Raymond will be presenting, I think, with backup from the amazing Valerie Valencia Santoya. So, all right, Mr.
Perfect.
Raymond.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Valerie will correct me where I'm wrong. And so we'll go through this really quick. At a high level, I think one of the big takeaways in workshop number 1 was that operational shortfalls that existed in 2018 or structural shortfall was helped offset by Measure E, some pension restructuring, and subsequently by Measure Z. We eliminated about a $3.5 to $4.5 million structural shortfall, moved forward with the AAA bond rating, and set aside one-time fundings, including reserves and future pension obligations, which allowed the council to have an opportunity to allocate between $8 to $12 million of one-time funding for critical needs. One of the things, if you have a chance to read the staff report for last Tuesday's workshop, you'll see the incredible effort staff has made to start a building maintenance division to add more than $2 million in preventative, both maintenance for facilities and roads, which are increases of about a net $2.2 million, I think, over where we were in 2018 and before. We've done a really good job of documenting all of our needs, whether it is through street assessments or facility assessments. In fact, if you need sleeping material, there's a 2,000-page facility assessment that goes over all of the city facilities and some high-level needs that are included in the presentation from last Tuesday. All of which, again, as we mentioned, allowed the council a rare opportunity to allocate between $8 and $12 million of one-time funding. The workshops that were mentioned this evening actually will take place. The city council had several meetings earlier this year about workshops, how much one-time funding would be utilized. City Council, prior to workshop 1, made a decision that the one-time funding would not be utilized for either the library or the public works yard, which are the two facilities that generally require the most work. And instead, they would focus on other city facilities and streets and roads. Again, that workshop was last Tuesday, the 16th. As was mentioned, with those two main facilities, both the library and public works yard, we've done structural assessments, studies, phasing approach. We've actually had construction documents drawn for the public works yard to get a better estimate on what the cost can be. And so we look forward to presenting those findings to the community on Tuesday, July 21st, which is the third Tuesday. And last, in option in workshop 3, which is going to be held September 15th, we'll talk about opportunities and how we fund some of the necessary improvements. We can talk about grants and land sales and the issuance of debt to pay for work as options. And we'll also discuss the potential of both structure and development of a citizen-led advisory committee. Council reached consensus, as was mentioned on the dais by the council members during their update, on about 12 million, more specifically 11.88 million. There were 72 items through streets and facilities. We'll look at increasing the city's overall street score by 2.87 points. If you're looking on a scale from 1 to 100, currently the city's roads are 63.2, which is considered a fair range. And the total breakdown was about 8.7 million for streets and 3.15 million for facilities. How the street segments were done, there was a section in the staff report that mentioned that street segments for city council consideration would not include anything coordinated with a future water main replacement. Priority was provided to major corridors such as Route 66, Grand, and Valley Center, which are areas that, unless there are significant one-time funding, the work is so expensive that they would likely not be done. We targeted low PCI segments and some standalone ready streets with no near-term water work. So again, one of the things the city's done a really good job of the last 5 years is trying to co-term both water and street projects to save money on both the street and the water side. We've actually seen savings above 10% when we're able to co-term that work. One of the things we don't want to do is do a street project, then come back through and cut the street and put in water pipes. It undermines both the quality of the street, and it's really a pain for all the residents and businesses in that area. We selected by PCI, which is the number score that would help provide additional public benefit, and we believe that those projects would be ready to move forward with quickly. There was an opportunity for council to select any other street segments that they so chose. And again, just really quickly, 8.7 million for streets and roads. We'll go over little details later in this presentation. A gain of almost 3 points. We'll update the estimated CPI or the overall street score coming up here in our next couple of meetings. One of the things we have to take into consideration is streets continue to get worse as time goes on. So we have the street scores are from 2025, so we'll have to estimate how much worse they've gotten over the past year and the timing of these one-time improvements and other street projects, which include Lone Hill, for example, and Glendora Avenue over the next 2 years. More specifically, with the street segments the City Council looked at, they looked at approving 1.4 million square feet of pavement in those major commercial areas on Route 66. We looked at Barranca to Grand, Pasadena to Elwood, and Compromise Line to Cataract. I think it's suffice to say, Council wished they had the money to do the entirety of Route 66. For Sunflower, Arrow Highway to Juanita, Juanita to Gladstone, and Gladstone to the 210 freeway. Along Juanita Avenue, Council selected Glendora Avenue to San Dimas Wash to Bonnie Cove Avenue, and Bonnie Cove Avenue to Sunflower. Along Valley Center, the council approved Arrow Highway to Juanita, and the council also authorized an additional $500,000 for slurry seal, which would allow us to proactively maintain streets that are not in as bad condition. That'll buy us an extra 300,000 to 400,000 square feet in slurry seal. In case you're wondering, on the city's website under capital projects, you can actually find every single street segment in the entire city and what your score is in front of your street or in front of your house or place of business. In city facilities, the council reached consensus on 3.1 million. The city undertook in 2023 a comprehensive assessment of all of its city facilities, which showed $50 million over the next 20 years. The city pulled out the most recent or most needed items over the first 4 years of that study, compared it to work that's already been done, and council was also able to select other items. One of the really important things here is, as I mentioned earlier, is the city council made a specific decision during a council meeting not to move forward or utilize one-time funding for the library or the public works yard. So those items were not included in those items presented to the city council. So there are 61 total items, 13 different parks, facilities, and buildings are included. Items include, for example, the Phaedra Center, which includes an assessment of the foundation due to noted cracking in the ceiling and roof structure, HVAC and kitchen, the Crowther Teen and Family Center, roof parking lots and some exterior paint, Finkbeiner Park. The library police station is actually the police station portion of that project, which shares some infrastructure. So we'll look at HVAC, electrical panel, and some emergency power in case we lose power. A lot of the other city facilities here, you'll notice, from parks to other buildings, include much of the same HVAC, exterior work, power, and roofing. So 13 total sites and parks, 61 total items that were included in that report. Putting the plan into motion, staff has met internally subject or subsequent to the council's meeting last week. We'll look forward to a recommendation to the council to allocate $3 million from the sale of the San Jose property into a project account and fund 301 to begin work, funding the streets and facilities work. We will come back with a much more detailed implementation plan. We wanted to make sure that we got this information out to the public as quickly as possible. We've already met, for example, with some of our existing consultants on how to try to get this work done as quickly as possible. And again, staff will report back on a quarterly basis on the status. A little more specific actions on what happens now. City has engaged TransTech to lead street engineering and design. Our goal is to get bid packages and engineering done in the next 60 to 90 days, and that clock started to tick from the time the council made a decision last Tuesday. We tentatively want to bid all items out in early fall, with construction to commence later this year and into early 2027. As the council can attest, that's for cities moving really quickly with a lot of the requirements that we have. With city facilities, we'll look to package these facility projects over the next month in terms of how we break them up. We'll look forward for a scope and being able to see what items we can bid together and how we do that work as quickly as possible with the least impact to the community, which utilizes some of these facilities on a heavy basis. And we'll look again forward to come to council with a more detailed timeline. So again, a lot of work went into last Tuesday. The council knows through thousands of pages of staff report and documentation that the items before the council were not easy, nor did they represent all of the city's needs. Understand the frustration amongst people who didn't have the projects done that they wanted to see, and we'll look forward to trying to find funding to address as many of those as possible. And with that, Mayor Pro Tem, happy to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you very much for that recap, and I think we've discussed this quite a bit already, so we will move ahead. Thank you. We have 3 public hearings this evening. Item 4 is a public hearing to consider adopting resolutions approving the engineer's report and confirming a diagram and assessment for the City of Glendora Streetlight Maintenance District 1 for fiscal year 26-27. And so at this time, I will declare the public hearing open and invite Assistant Public Works Director Valerie Velasquez-Santoya to report. And tonight's going to be Valerie's night. So welcome.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor, members of the community. So this is, as mentioned, the second presentation on the Streetlight Maintenance District for fiscal year 2026-2027. For background, the Streetlight Maintenance District includes 2,996 public streetlights. These are streetlights that are located throughout the city. While it says District 1, we only have one, so it's no specific area, it's throughout the city. 2,744 of those are owned by Southern California Edison, and the city owns 252. Private lights and traffic signals are excluded, and Resolution 0660 does allow for an annual CPI adjustment. We utilize the CPI differentiation from March through March, so the effective rate for the next fiscal year will be 3.4%. So the renewal process is required every year before we submit to the county so that they can go ahead and place the assessments on the tax roll. So the process was initiated back in May when City Council adopted 3 resolutions. And tonight we have the public hearing, which is the final step of renewal, where council will be asked to adopt a resolution to approve the final engineer's report and confirm the diagram and assessments for the next fiscal year. So a little bit of a typo here. So we're looking at 26-27 assessment and the 2026 CPI of 3.4. So currently this year, the assessment is 50.63 for the standard base unit. And going ahead and putting in that 3.4% adjustment factor, that does an increase of $1.72. So it'll bring the base rate for a single-family residence up to $52.35. There are 2 zones in the city. Zone A is all of the standard parcels, and then Zone B is for those that are within a gated community. So the differentiation, the adjustment across the different types of parcels has to do with density and land use. So the total levy and maintenance costs, the revenues, through the district, it brings in about $569,239. The gas tax fund goes ahead and provides for the general benefit in an amount of $674,030, and then there is a contribution from the reserve fund for the total revenues of $1.3 million. And then we have the expenditures on the opposite side there, which are made up of direct costs, indirect costs for administrative cost, and then there's some operational reserve for a total of $1.3 million as well. The operational reserve, which was questioned at the last meeting in May, we have currently or projected for the end of the fiscal year 27 amount of about $749,000. The reserve fund is used to address timeliness of revenues and expenses, specifically for the first half of the fiscal year, and where we get our proceeds and the assessments from the county twice a year, sometimes not until December. So that helps us go ahead and address expenses until we receive our first disbursement. The funds can be used also for unexpected rate adjustments or any repair or replacement needs that we may have. But the amount is growing, so we'll continue to monitor that and talk with Finance Department as well as our consultant next year to see if any adjustments are warranted on how we address our reserves. So the recommendation this evening, again, is to open and conduct the public hearing and to adopt a City Council resolution entitled Resolution of the City Council for the City of Glendora, approving the engineer's report in connection with the Streetlight Maintenance District 1, and to adopt a city resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Glendora, confirming the diagram and assessment. And with that, I will return it back to council.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I would like to open the public testimony. Do we have any speaker cards on this item?
We do not, Mayor Pro Tem.
Have we received any correspondence?
We have not.
Okay, seeing none, then I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for questions or comments. Councilmember Thompson.
Thank you for a very good update, and I appreciated the answer that I got. What is District 1? District 1 is the entire 20.5 square miles that Glendora has. And so I believe this is fair and consistent with what we've done, and I'm going to support this. Thank you.
Councilmember Alawas.
As usual, you did a tremendous job on this. Appreciate it. just for everyone's edification, CPI, where do you get the CPI number from?
We take the CPI from, I believe it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and we use it from the geographic area for Los Angeles County.
Great, thank you. No other questions.
Councilmember Elias.
No questions for me. Thank you, Valerie.
Mayor Friedendahl.
Thank you, Valerie, and I have no questions. Now move to accept when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll take that as a motion. Is there a second?
So moved.
Okay, invite everyone to vote. All right, and we just tested out technology. Mayor Friedendahl's vote came through, so very good. Thank you. All right. Good job, staff. All right, we move on to our second public hearing, item 5, a public hearing to consider adopting resolutions approving the engineer's report and confirming a diagram and assessments for the City of Glendora Landscape Maintenance District 1 for fiscal year 26-27. And once again, Valerie, and before you speak, I will say that the public hearing is now open.
Okay, so yes, very similar. This is the Landscape Maintenance District. We also need to renew this process every year to renew the assessments. For background, there are 7 benefit zones funded by property tax assessments within the city, and we'll go through those in a couple slides. The district was established in 1976, and Resolution 0320 does allow for annual CPI adjustment increases in up to 5% in 6 of the 7 zones. And again, we are using the CPI factor of 3.4% on the March to March adjustment. Again, the annual renewal process was required. Again, we started this back in May when we did the streetlight maintenance district as well. And tonight is the final step, the public hearing to adopt the resolutions and forward this to the county assessor. So here we have the 7 different zones through the city. We've got the location here as well as the square foot area, description of the landscaping in each of these zones. And we'll go ahead and show in the columns the respective current amount that each of those zones pays, and then put in the factor of 3.4% increase. And then you have the proposed levy and the dollar increment increase for each of those different zones. And then I will point out Zone 5, the small little island at Hampton and Gladstone, where Sunflower is. That one has no CPI adjustment, so that rate is constant. So for the total levy and maintenance costs, we have the number of units in each of those zones, the total amount collected for each of those zones as the max levy column, and then the operation and maintenance costs. And then you'll see that the actual operation and maintenance cost is slightly higher than the amount that we collect. So the city does go ahead and subsidize the landscape maintenance district with the general fund in amount of $33,494 estimated for the next year. So tonight, again, the council recommendation is to open and conduct a public hearing, accept evidence and any testimony presented, and in the absence, adopt the 2 resolutions, one to approve the engineer's report, and the second to confirm the diagram and assessment. And that concludes this report.
Thank you. All right, with that, I will open the public testimony. Do we have any speaker cards?
We do not.
Okay, anyone wishing to speak on this item? Okay, and do we have any correspondence?
We do not.
Okay, in that case, I will close the public testimony and close the public hearing and bring it back to the council. Councilmember Alawas.
Thank you, Valerie. Years past, there was some landscape districts that were able to give back to the residents. Have we had any thoughts about doing that again on the remaining landscape districts that we have?
I don't know that we have went ahead and thought about that or made that consideration. If that's something council wants us to do, or Adam, I see, wants to jump in.
I could chime in just a little bit. We have looked at some of the areas, especially those that are along the side of a property, for example, of a house. There's been no interest in taking on additional responsibility, as you might imagine. The city has tried to make some more permanent fixes in some of those areas to reduce long-time costs, so some one-time investment. But we have made contact previously. I think the last time was about 3 years ago, spent significant time with all those residential neighborhoods and trying to get them to have some buy-in. Some cases was successful, some cases not so much. So definitely something that we do keep in consideration from time to time, but really have tried to make those one-time investments to solve issues moving forward.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Thompson?
Have nothing to add. Excellent update, and good job. Thank you.
Councilmember Elias?
Thank you, Valerie. Just for the public, can you reiterate quickly, Zone 5, no CPI increase, why?
I'm guessing when we went back and established this, they have to vote on it at certain points. And so they probably did not approve the CPI increase. Is that correct?
Yeah, and some of them historically, these existed pre-Prop 218 and especially pre-Prop 26. So it used to be you could set up these and you could change the amount every year and there wasn't necessarily a process like there is today. And so the city, if it didn't make changes decades ago before some of this stuff went in, you were kind of stuck, Valerie's right, with the formula that you had at that time. So some of those areas would not have had a CPI adjustment included in it. And Valerie is correct. The city tried to go out and move some of those adjustments failed, and some of them were successful, so.
Okay. I think I asked that last year, so just wanted to clarify for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Friedendahl?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, I'm ready to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Items 1 and 2.
Okay, invite you to vote. Okay, thank you. That passes 5-0. All right, that takes us on to our next public hearing item. Item number 6, a public hearing for vesting tentative tract map and development plan review for the development of 28 single-family residential units located at 1706 East Route 66 and 1675 Inola Street, Glendora, California, with the associated parcel numbers. And at this time, I'd like to declare the public hearing open and invite Senior Planner Yelini Siva to report. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Council. The applicant is requesting the approval of a tentative tract map and development plan review to allow for the subdivision and development of 28 detached single-family residential homes on approximately 3.7 acres. An SB 330 application was also submitted with the application, which allows for early vesting of overall fees, the streamlining of the project processing, and the replacement of the existing 4 residential units at the site. As shown on the slide, the surrounding properties are primarily residential, with the City Public Works Yard located across Route 66 from the property, and Route 66 serves as the frontage along the north side of the property and the metro and railroad corridor. Of the 28 homes proposed, 3 would be available for purchase to low and very low income qualified buyers. The related state law concessions, waivers, and incentives include reduced parking, lot area, width, depth, setbacks, higher heights, and the number of parking spaces in total. The proposed development consists of 28 detached single-family homes ranging in size from approximately 1,500 to 2,500 square feet, and the homes will contain 3 to 4 bedrooms and include attached 2-car garages and driveway area for parking in addition. 12 guest parking spaces are also distributed throughout the development. With regard to circulation, vehicle access is proposed from Route 66 through a redesigned and realigned project entry. Internal pedestrian walkways connect the homes and common open space areas throughout the site. Proposed improvements also consist of a new driveway entrance, the installation of curb, gutter, and sidewalk between the project entrance and the Route 66 Compromise Line Road intersection, and the rehabilitation of the south half of Route 66 pavement along the project frontage. The project also includes on-site amenities for residents, including a central open space area, with seating areas, lawn space, barbecue facilities, bike racks, and a pet area. As part of the project landscaping, drought-tolerant landscaping and new canopy trees are proposed throughout the site. The draft resolution includes condition number 9, which lists requirements for landscaping and irrigation in the public right-of-way to be maintained by the project's HOA. Architecturally, the homes incorporate Spanish colonial and Santa Barbara design elements within the Spanish Revival style, which features including stucco finishes, arches, wood detailing, etc. Although the city's objective design standards were adopted after the application was submitted, staff reviewed the project for overall compatibility, and consistency with the intent of those standards. The public noticing for tonight's hearing was completed in accordance with the GMC. Notices mailed to all property owners within 300 feet and published in the San Gabriel Valley Examiner. And therefore, staff is recommending that the City Council find the project categorically exempt per CEQA and approve tentative tract map number 84970 and the development plan review for the development of the 28 proposed detached single-family homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Following the procedure of the public hearing, at this time, I'd like to invite the applicant, MW Investments LLC, Matthew Waken. Am I saying that right?
You are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Friedendahl and members of the City Council. My name is Matt Waken. I'm with MW Investment Group, and I'm the project developer. I just want to take a few minutes tonight and just give you a little bit of additional background and a little bit more context as far as how we got here tonight before you. I want to start by thanking Yeleni and Mark. I mean, they've been amazing from day one. We took a different approach, I think, on this project coming in. I met with Mark day one before I actually went into contract on the project. And Mark gave me some good advice. He told me that everything stops and starts with the neighbors directly adjacent to the site. What's interesting about this site is that Gary and Debbie Devine, who are here tonight, longtime Glendora residents, have owned this site for over 20 years. And I'm the fourth developer to work on this project. And not to criticize the previous developers, but I think their approach to the development plan was primarily focused on density and densifying the site. I think they thought that density would equate to greater value for them. And all of those plans, to a T, contemplated a 3-story row townhome project in the area of 45 to 55 units, which we think was too dense, which the neighbors thought was too dense. Also, by bringing about that type of a higher density, it required additional access points, something that the neighbors were very strong when we first met, that they did not want access going through their neighborhood to this project. So our approach was something different, and again, something that was recommended by Mark from the start, which is to go by the current zoning of R1. The site's identified, it's Site 51 in your housing element, so it's designated for this R1 zone and for this density. So we took the by right approach. What's also interesting about the previous developers, and this may have come after their time, but I'm not a huge fan of housing laws. I use certain housing laws at certain times, but I try to minimize the use of them. I believe by stacking housing laws, it's just meant to create more density, and that's all the state wants. And I don't think you have to look at the site, you have to look at the city, you have to look at the character of the surrounding neighborhood, and you have to decide what you want to do. This particular site, we looked at it under that context of the housing laws, and by using Assembly Bill 1287, which is a stacking housing law, you could actually take the existing R1 zone, and through the implementation of affordable units, you could stack 2 housing laws together and get a density by right here of 47 units on this site and go to 3 stories. And again, that's not the route that the ownership wanted to take, and that's not the route that I wanted to take. And the Devines really bent over backwards to work with me so we could make this work. So we took the approach to the R1, the by right. We met with the neighbors. Some of their big points were they did not want the access driven through Enola for traffic coming through. We've closed that off. Another point was height. They wanted this project not to be greater than 2 stories, so we respected that, kept the project at 2 stories. And it's important to note that the project, and I should probably, this is what the site plan looked like by right using the stacking laws at 47 units. And this is our current project. And if you look at those row of 5 homes that run along the back end of Remuda, we have a grade differential there that we've prepared that's approximately 8 feet lower than those homes. So those homes that really front the project and are the only homes that are the back side of the project are roughly a single-story view from the back end of that. So we've also respected that category as well. And we went through all of the environmental reviews, the traffic reviews that staff required us to do and requested that we do. I have my traffic engineer here tonight. I have my architect here tonight. I have my civil engineer. We have our environmental team, my landscape architect. Everybody's here to answer any questions that you may have, and I'm here as well. So I hope that you'll think it's a good project. We work really hard with the neighbors. We had letters of support. We had 3 community meetings, and we think we really hit the mark on it, so we hope you like it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, I will open the public testimony and call up our first speaker, Luis Jimenez.
Hello, good evening. My name is Luis Jimenez. I've been to a few of the meetings with Mr. Waken. I think at this point I could recite the speech. But no, I want to say he was actually very helpful and reached out to the community. He was very a good, effective communicator in addressing our concerns. Obviously, the main thing is we don't want to see a 3-story structure by our homes. We don't want pedestrian access, vehicle access. We don't want our community to turn to a parking lot, essentially, for all these new homes. Heard us and worked with us, worked with the community, addressed our concerns. I even talked to my fellow neighbors. The older I get, the more I realize my parents were right about a lot of things. So I talked to some of my neighbors who have lived right next to the lot for 50 years. So needless to say, they know a little bit more than me. They've been around, they've seen all the proposals for different developments that have been proposed for that area, and they've said, yeah, this is the best one. You know, so in my opinion, they're the experts, right? They've been around 50 years, they've been through multiple different plans, and this is the best one that they've seen. So that for me is a good enough endorsement to support this project. That's it. Short and simple.
Thank you very much. And you know these meetings are recorded, so now your parents can play that back saying that you said that.
Oh.
You know, they're right.
I've already admitted to them, like, you know what? Yeah, you did have some idea of what I was going through growing up, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much for being here tonight.
Yeah, not a problem.
Our next speaker, Danelle Hirata.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My concern when I came in here was the Enola entrance and access to this new build. And our concern within our neighbors on my street was about how many vehicles will be traveling through the Coral Homes and the impact that this will cause. And so after hearing the developer speak, you eased my mind, so thank you. But will we be closing off that Enola entrance completely? That's what I would like to know. And is it any type of access where they would have foot access? Nothing, so it's closed completely. You've eased my mind. Thank you very much again for allowing me to speak, and I will turn it over to the next person.
All right, our next person, and I'm sorry I cannot quite read your writing for your last name, but Bill? And could you tell me your last name?
Heberling.
Heberling, okay, thank you. Welcome.
Okay. Good evening. I live at the corner of Remuda and Inola. I've been there 53 years. And I've seen many developers come in and try to build something there. And these guys are the only ones that are doing something that's proper. So for myself and my neighbor on the opposite corner, he agrees, we both agree that this is the best plan yet. Thank you.
Thank you. And Marcelo and Eileen, welcome.
Hello, thank you so much. I also came from the neighborhood right next to Enola at the Coral Homes, and we were concerned all about the same things. So relieved to see that Enola's blocked off. I want to thank the developer for really listening to the community and really, taking a totally different approach, and everyone in our area appreciates that, and we're happy to see what you've done. I know that there were part of our little community that, the 300 feet radius were involved, and you had good traction there within the community. I would just say maybe it would have been helpful for the larger community just to get some sort of notification as to, hey, don't worry, this is what's happening, Enola's off the table, and, just to have that sort of communicated to the rest of the development. Our development would have been helpful. I was approached probably 6 times within the last week, including in the grocery store, asking me if I knew it was happening and telling me, please, go make a fuss and come here and talk. So that would be wonderful. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And is there anyone else wishing to speak on this particular item? Okay, seeing none. Oh, yes, sir. If you could come forward and after you speak, fill out a public speaker card? Sure. Thank you.
My name is Michael LaRusso, and I live far from it, up by a Sellers School. But my question is, I think one of the ladies asked about foot traffic and driving traffic. Is it going to be a walled area that between the areas? No gates at all, so completely isolated. Second one is, will the intersection, I'm assuming this is at Compromise Lane, where right now it's everybody turning left for school goes in that intersection, right? Will that intersection be done, will be reworked so that it's more applicable?
There will be an
for-
opportunity for the developer to come back up and answer any questions and summarize afterwards. So if you just want to share your thoughts right now, and then we'll invite them up to answer.
Well, just as a person who drives by that area quite often, and I know that the school traffic, one lane turning left onto Compromise Lane to school, you have all these other potentially 50 additional cars, 60 cars coming in. That's just a consideration to think about. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, please come up and then fill out a speaker card afterwards.
Good evening. My name is Michael Webb. I'm actually the property manager for the apartment complex at the corner of Compromise Line and Route 66. We've spoken with Matthew and his team in the past, few weeks. There's a lot of good things about this project. Just my concern about it is actually separate from the project itself. It's similar to about the traffic at the light. We've had residents, and me, myself included, I live at that property. As we walk across the street to go into the neighborhood, walk our dog, I've had buses run that red light. I've seen many, many cars run that red light. It's very dangerous. One of our residents was hit and T-boned coming out. She had a green right away. Someone T-boned her and she lost her child. She was with child. So, I'm very grateful that we have a new sidewalk that will be going along Route 66 from their property to the light, but that light itself is very dangerous. We've experienced it. I've almost been hit many times walking across that street. So with the increased amount of people that might be living there, the more traffic, I would suggest that the city do more studies about, some way to actually maybe make that light safer, whether it's the timing, making the red lights longer, all red lights between green lights, something like that, having increased amount of times, I think for safety would make us feel a lot safer. Other than that, there's a lot of really good things about this project. But that's my main concern, really, as a neighbor and just a person who lives nearby. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else? All right, do we have any correspondence?
Mayor Pro Tem, we received 6 correspondence that were received before the posting of the agenda. They were incorporated in the agenda packet and made available to the public.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, I will close the public testimony and invite Mr. Wakin to come back up and any of your other representatives to make any closing comments.
Thank you. I'm going to have my traffic engineer answer this comment.
Good evening, Council. My name is Justin Tucker, RK Engineering. I'm engineer in charge of the preparation of the traffic study. A couple points I want to make. This site objectively is a low trip generator. By many city standards, really kind of the golden rule for any sort of expanded traffic analysis is if a project is forecast to generate 50 or more peak hour trips, that's usually the trigger to ramp up the analysis. At most, this project is forecast to generate about 25 peak hour trips, so about half the minimum threshold. Yet, during the scoping process up front, the city had concerns and required a traffic analysis nonetheless. And happy to report some of the findings. So the intersection in question is Compromise Line Road at Route 66, which is about a couple hundred feet to the east of the proposed project driveway. Based off of the city's LOS thresholds and standards, under all analysis scenarios, that intersection operates adequately. One distinction I want to make is the way we look at an intersection in a traffic study is different how it would be analyzed in let's say, a safety evaluation. So I can't speak to the accident collision history or anything of that matter. That would be a separate study outside of the scope of a typical traffic study for a development project like this, but that intersection operates adequately from the city's LOS standards. There was another point, the queuing at the eastbound left turn from Route 66 to northbound Compromise, especially in the AM, we saw under existing conditions an extensive queue for that eastbound left turn. Certainly, increase in traffic from not only this project, but ambient growth and other projects that we layered in on top will, of course, worsen that queue proactively in the traffic study to help mitigate that as best we could. We're recommending a keep clear pavement marking in front of the project driveway to help open that space up, not block the driveway ingress, egress from that, especially AM queues that we saw in the report.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes left. Anyone else from your group that wants to make any other comment? Okay, thank you. All right, with that, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for comments. I'll start with Mayor Friedendahl.
Hi, thank you, Karen, and thank you, Matthew. It's an attractive project, and it certainly is a great choice over some of the previous attempts, so thank you for that. And for the property owner, thanks for reaching out and finding a good team member. A couple of questions. Are the streets to be HOA owned and maintained or city owned? Do we know that answer?
Good evening, Nancy Johns, project manager for the applicant. All the streets.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. All the streets within the project are private streets, so they'll be privately maintained.
Okay, don't step away yet.
Okay.
The parking, I see taking the opportunity to reduce extra parking. Will parking be allowed at the curbs in front of the homes in addition to the double garages and double wide driveways?
No, just the 12
spaces?
guest spaces, right. We, by state density bonus law, you're not required to have any guest spaces. And I think our original proposal had maybe 4 or 5. Mark and Yelena asked us to look at it a couple times, and now that's up to 12. We just thought it would be better operationally for the project, but no, there's no parking on the streets in the curb.
Okay, so with 0.43 extra spaces per home, that's pretty minimal. You might have heard I have a Thanksgiving Day test. If only half the new homes have guests for Thanksgiving Day at the same time, where are they going to park? And certainly in this case, Route 66 is not a choice. So that makes for a challenge for the neighborhood for sure. So just a thought. I do appreciate your outreach to the neighborhood, and I applaud that. I think the success is very obvious. Another point that you'll probably expect is we do have objective design standards, and we were working on those about the same time that you were presenting this project. And within a matter of 14 days or less, filing dates, that gets to be, I guess, maybe tricky, but I'll ask. You might be aware that our objective design standards talks about not having a no-eave type of roof line, especially in the Spanish Revival or Mission style home, and asks for a 9 to 12 inch eave overlap within the rolled tile. Would you be willing to adjust your plan to accommodate that design standard?
Before I have Matt come up and look at that, so we filed an SB 330 application June 30th of last year, which locks in the city fees and the city design objectives. So the project was not required to comply with the design, the new design standards, but we tried to implement all the design standards we could. That's one of them that we couldn't meet.
So changing that is not an option?
No, not at this time.
Okay, one last question. Does the developer intend to be the builder, or is this entitled to sell to another builder type project?
Matt has partnered with Brandywine, who's building another site within the city, and they will be the development partner building out the project.
Okay, so Brandywine will be the builder. Okay, I understand.
Fifth one together, yeah. This is the fifth one together that Matt's done with Brandywine. Fifth project.
Okay, well, I'm disappointed in the lack of work to adhere to the objective design standards, given that they were in a similar time frame and that they were very apparent. But I have no other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Alawas?
Thank you. Obviously, you did a lot of great outreach with the residents, which is admirable because a lot of developers don't do such a good job. So, and obviously you have the support here tonight, which is good. Overall, I like the design, but I have a trigger with the state of California allowing you to do basically whatever you want to do. It's my own personal issue, and the developers take advantage of that. Right now, you've got 7 waivers, but you're given unlimited waivers to do whatever you want and basically throw the book away. You have one concession. What is that concession? I went through and I couldn't see what the concession was.
We reserved that concession if we needed it through the entitlement review process, and we didn't need it. So it's just the waivers. We reserved the concession, but we didn't need it, so we're not using it.
So you're not going to use the concession?
No.
Okay.
No.
And you spoke earlier about the LOS rating. What is the current LOS and what is it expected to be after the design?
Justin, can I ask you to come up?
Is the question specifically for compromise at Route 66?
What's the traffic rating before and after?
At that intersection, we have
Well,
a before and after at all the intersections we analyze, but I'll give you that one. Bear with me. So I'll give you the expected project opening year results. 2028 is expected project opening. That intersection operates at a LOSD, as in dog, for AM conditions. That's the city's minimum acceptable threshold. LOSA under PM. D and A for both without project to with project.
Can you clarify what LOS means so everyone understands?
Sure. It stands for level of service. And it's the way traffic engineers grade the proficiency operations of an intersection.
So you're currently at a...
Current existing as of today, it's still a D and an A, just lower down the scale. The
So
E
af-
range from 35 to 55. Existing, it's 41. And then in 2028, it's jumps up about 10 seconds to 53. So we're just kind of hovering under that 55 threshold. The project itself adds 0.1 increase, which is essentially nominal.
Okay. Is the developer going to be required to do any street work to half the street, repave?
We're going to have the project civil engineer, Dan McDougall, come up.
Hello. Just the typical street improvements. So half-width improvements, we're replacing all the curb and gutter along the project frontage on Route 66 and then doing some grind and overlay there's a median, so it's not really to the center line of the street, but to the middle of the street, if you will. And then sidewalk going out towards Compromise Line.
So the frontage of the property will be grinded and overlaid to the median?
Yes,
Center
I believe
median.
that's the standard, yep.
Okay, great. It was, Mayor Friedendahl asked this, sort of, is this going to be a condo tract map?
It's fee simple lots, so it's not a condo map.
So will each unit have its own parcel number?
Yes. Yeah, there'll still be an HOA, but it's not a condominium association. It's normal fee simple lots.
Okay. I noticed that you needed to increase the building height, one of your waivers, from 25 feet to 28 feet. Why?
I'm going to ask Art Alvarado to come up from KTGY.
Boy, you have a team here tonight. You're concerned about something?
I think most of that is due to just the size of the houses and the pitches that we're dealing with. You know, you don't want to get the pitch too low because of issues with the manufacturer specifications, so we go 412 as low as we can.
So are these trusses?
So it's not trusses, it's the pitch of the trusses. So once you get to a certain point, that's what happens. You get the ridges, and it gets to a point where it gets a little sloppy. So we wanted to keep it simple roofs, simple ridges, not a lot of movement. Less expensive when you do it that way for the builder, and it simplifies us. And then since we had a, SDBL in this case, it allowed us to break the height limit.
So also you have a waiver not to have any storage in the garage? Since you have a higher pitch, or is there going to be any storage in the attic?
There could be storage in the attic. I mean, that's really comes down to, go ahead.
So there is a waiver for not including storage in the garage, but because of the plate heights, we think we actually can provide storage in the garage. So we saw that condition, and we talked about it internally with the architect team, and they can make room for a shelf or like a net at the roof of the garage, which would help with storage. So we actually don't really need that waiver. I know staff included it, but it's something that we can accommodate.
Okay, but do you think you'll have any attic storage space since you have a higher pitch?
Potentially, yeah, I would think so.
Last question, what's the price range?
So we haven't filed with DRE. There's a process you have to go through before releasing pricing. So we have to have the project approved, you have to record the map, and then start the DRE process to release public pricing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Elias?
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Waken. This project is beautiful. I could see this in Glendora all day, every day. I love this. I love your outreach to the community. The fact that there's people that showed up to support you, I think is amazing. This is the kind of development I love for Glendora. I mean, it looks beautiful. I'm looking at the site plans right now. I just think that corner right there, it's night and day to what it is. I love that you are adding the curb on the east side so this community can walk to the grocery store or dinner or whatever. I think that's amazing. So I love this. I did have a question about what the price point would be. Sounds like you can't disclose that yet. I can't remember what your traffic guy, your name was, but you mentioned the keep clear at the driveway, that's a recommendation. How does that work for us as a city? That seems like it's a pretty darn good recommendation. Do we follow those? How does that work, Adam? Anybody?
That's embarrassing. I was texting with staff on the next item. Can you repeat that question one more time? I'm not even gonna try to guess.
He talked about making the recommendation to put the keep clear striping at the driveway.
Yeah.
Do we take a recommendation like that? I mean, it seems like it's a reasonable recommendation.
So I know we've talked about some of these things on the submission, but as staff moves forward or the project moves forward, some of those details, has some of that already been ironed out specifically, or are we taking a look at? All right.
Okay.
To be determined.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. I didn't really have any more questions. I applaud you. Can you build more in our city? Like, this is really amazing. I'm excited for, this area is going to look beautiful. I'm excited for the neighborhoods surrounding it. I think it will, elevate all of those communities. So, bravo. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Thompson.
All right, she saves me till the last because I'm the old guy. I ask every team such as you the same question. And we're starting off well because I've looked at your site plans, a bedroom. We're not all like 29. Some of us are 72. We don't like stairs. You have some bedrooms and downstairs on some of your site plans. So give me the number of downstairs rooms that could be used for old guys like me out of 28 homes.
I'm going to ask the architect to come up and respond to that. The number of downstairs bedrooms, there's 9 of them? 9 of the 28.
9 out of, okay. You got my vote. Barely. You should do 10 or 12. And if you could, that would be great. Because if my kids buy those and I'm moved or something, I'm not going to climb up stairs, And so I do appreciate 9, but maybe you can consider 10. Or maybe, because you're not going to be young forever, and all of your team's not going to be young forever. And Mr. Boyer used to serve with me up here, and he knows I'm consistent about this. So thank you for accommodating, but more accommodation would be great. So I just leave that thought there. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I agree with many of the comments that have been made, that you did your homework and you talked to the neighbors, because one of the biggest challenges with any development there has been the concern of the neighborhood and the intrusion, or the concern about how those ingress and egress would be. So thank you very much for doing your homework on that. And I don't think enough attention was given to how you're going to change that profile on Route 66. I think that is a great addition, because for so long we've gotten so accustomed to looking at that concrete slab, and the way that you are modifying that and adding that curb and adding the sidewalk. And I appreciate the folks that brought up about that intersection. I think that's definitely a topic for future discussions, maybe with our traffic safety committee, about anything that could be looked at, because of course, that is a major thoroughfare for going to the high school, and that's what creates that morning traffic. When my kids were going to high school, I tried to avoid that intersection at all costs and go another way to the high school, because it's just not pretty. But yes, and I appreciate that there are 3 affordable units. I mean, we can't build enough affordable units, and so thank you for making that part of the project. I know that's part of the housing laws, but thank you for including that. And As Councilmember Elias said, I think that your choice of design is attractive. I know it doesn't have the roof line that the mayor wants, but I think absent of that, that your features are very attractive and it will be an attractive addition. So with that, unless there are any further comments or questions, I would, yes.
Karen, I have one more question,
Oh,
please.
yes, sir, sorry.
Given the limited parking and the storage question from Mr. Alawas, is there a way that we can add or request that the CCNRs include a statement that garages must be used for automobiles and not basements, to eliminate packing the garages and then forcing cars to do something else?
Yes, Mr. Wake.
Can absolutely agree to that. Yeah, we've done that on a number of projects, and we'll put that in the HOA docs. You can add that as a condition.
Thank you.
All right. So I would invite a motion. Oh. Public testimony is closed. I'm sorry.
I'll move the item.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
All right, I invite everyone to vote. Okay, it passes 4-1. Thank you to everyone from the community that was here tonight. Thank you to the developer and to staff for your presentation. Thank you. Okay, that moves us on to the consent calendar. Items 7 through 13 can be approved with one motion unless anyone wants to make any comment or pull any.
No.
So does anyone want to pull any items off the consent calendar or make a motion to approve?
I'll move
So
to
moved.
approve.
Oh, second.
Okay, I invite you to vote.
Who moved that?
David.
David?
Okay, the consent calendar passes 5-0. That moves us to item 14, operational and fiscal impact assessment of increasing the authorized positions from 2 to 3 for the community preservation officers. And tonight, I invite Finance Director Kyle Johnson. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, or Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor and City Council members. I came in the other direction. It was a long line to get out the door, so I wanted to make sure I got here as I was introduced. So the item before you tonight arose as a request from the elected body during the fiscal year 26-27 mid-cycle budget adoption. The City Council has discussed this before. As Adam mentioned at the last meeting, about 18 months ago or so, at the November 12th, 2024 meeting, the decision at that time was not to move forward with any staffing changes, but obviously we're a couple months removed from that, so new discussion. So the discussion tonight lands within two strategic plan goals in the 2025-2027 strategic plan, addressing quality of life issues. Goal 2, Glendora as a destination, beautification and visual appeal, and Goal 5, staff and technology assessing service delivery. A bit of background on the Community Preservation Division. The Community Preservation Division maintains the quality of life through community partnerships, education, and when necessary, enforcement actions, ensuring compliance with zoning, municipal, and building codes while promoting the overall welfare of the community. Before we get to the operational assessment, here is a historical look at the authorized full-time equivalent positions budgeted since fiscal year 2001. The CPOs, so that's saving some syllables for myself, shortening Community Preservation Officer, started in community development and transitioned to the police department where they are today, peaking at 4 full-time employees. Since fiscal year 2017, there have been 2 authorized CPO positions. Over the last 12 months, the Community Preservation Division has handled 1,425 calls between 2 CPOs. This represents both proactive enforcement and responses to complaints from community members, police department employees, and other city officials. Though the number of calls for service can provide a general measure of activity, that number does not account for additional contact CPOs must make to ensure compliance. So taking that into consideration, the operational assessment identified three key areas: greater flexibility and community connection, increased responsiveness and more time to proactively address violations, and more timely and frequent site inspections, potentially lessening time to case resolution. It should be noted, there are portions of the compliance process that are outside of the CPO's and police department control, for example, judicial proceedings, which will not change or decrease with the addition of a third CPO. Primarily, the addition of a third CPO would increase the number of personnel present at any given time. The next two slides will focus on the fiscal assessment. The additional CPO will not generate any measurable general fund revenue. The fully burdened cost is $186,400, including the purchase of a vehicle. If approved, the position is likely to be filled between 50 to 75% of the year after the recruitment, background, and onboarding process. As such, only a portion of the cost will be incurred during the fiscal year 26-27, between $128,000 to $157,000, which includes the purchase of a vehicle. Funding for the position may be absorbed by the general fund contingency account in fiscal year 26-27. The general fund contingency account is used for unanticipated and unforeseen costs. For example, PFAL trapping, sister city expenses, South Hills, and the South Hills Development Study, among other things that have come up. It represents less than 0.5% of the general fund and Measures EZ budget. For fiscal year 28 and beyond, the position will be funded by Measures EZ. An adjustment will be made to reduce the general fund contingency account, and it will be offset by the transfers in and out between the general fund and Measures EZ. If approved, the vehicle purchase would require a supplemental appropriation in the Fleet Management Fund of $70,000. The Fleet Management Fund does have accumulated reserves of $1.5 million available to support the supplemental appropriation and lessen the potential one-time impact to the general fund and Measures EZ. Overall, the impact is sustainable within each fund. At this time, staff is requesting direction from the City Council on the increase of one authorized community preservation officer position. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. I believe I saw the chief there too, if there's any police department questions.
You got Captain
Oh, and
Stabio
Captain
behind
Stabio,
you.
sorry, I looked right over. You look very nice today. You threw me off. Even got the tie, better than myself. So,
All right,
turn it over
thank
to
you,
council.
Kyle. All right, I'll bring you back to the council for questions. Councilmember Alawas.
Thank you. I'm not in support of this. I think we have the right balance so far in our PD. My concern is long-term liability. We are getting our funds from E&Z. Police Department currently gets monies from E&Z to operate. And if we have any financial issues or the country has any financial issues from the economics, we can see our revenue from the tax for our sales tax where we get from E&Z reduce. And then we're going to have some other issues with, like I said, the long-term liability. So I'm not in support of this. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Friedendahl.
Hi, thank you, Kyle. I appreciate the report and the numbers. I think that it's very important that we look at doing this because I think a third set of eyes out there when we're trying to improve our quality of life and keep the community going is important. I think while the current crew is doing a fine job, they need help because we're not doing it as often and frequently with the repeat offenders that we have every day, and we know what those are because we just don't have the presence out there. On the days that all three are working, that's 3 sets of eyes, 3 sets of opportunity to go out and contact and help seek compliance with the programs and improve that quality of life, as opposed to we get to that problem maybe once every 4, 5, 6 weeks. I don't think that's responsive enough. As far as the car cost, I might hope that as we survey out cars from our fleet, that instead of throwing one away, that if it's got life left and it's in good condition, why not use that? I think we could do so and keep it running. It doesn't have to be a first response vehicle. it can do the job that I think they need. So I think that $70,000 is an opportunity that we can improve on. But it's very important to me that we look at doing this and support it, because I think we need a greater presence out there with the problems that we have on a daily basis and the ones that come up as that we respond to. So I encourage us to please consider this, and I strongly support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Thompson.
Thank you. I echo what David just said, so I won't take time. I know it's late where he is, but I echo all of his points. I think having a set of third eyes will continue the trend that is pretty important for all of us. Crime is down 16.5%, and our unhoused count is probably the lowest that it's been in a long time at 64-ish. Adam, you can make sure I'm not way off, but I don't think that I am. And I think the broken window philosophy is really true. And as we see broken, you name it, homes, cars, a window on a office building that maybe is not being used, or industrial plant, which we don't have a lot of, but even a mechanic shop. That theory has proven to be true. When one breaks, there's more and more and more to come, and then our city is not in great shape. And so I personally think that the investment that we've already made from taxes that we have voted in has seen and has given us the 16.5 downtrend and unhoused downtrend, and I think that this will even help more. So thank you for, Kyle, the update, the good points that you've made, and I'm going to support this. Thank you.
Councilmember Elias.
Thank you, and thank you, Kyle, for your report. I agree with Mayor Friedendahl and my colleague, Councilmember Thompson. I do support this as well. I realize it's an added expense, but I think that this is extremely responsive to concerns that have been expressed by our community since I've been on council. In terms of just, keeping our city up. And so I think that another set of eyes, especially from PD side, is good. It's, they'll be able to address some obvious concerns that, code enforcement looks for, but then all the ancillary things that you just see as you're driving through the community. So, concern about somebody sleeping on a park bench or trash somewhere, whatever it is, it's just another set of eyes out there that can be in touch with, the appropriate person to help with that. So I think that this will be a benefit to our community. So I definitely support this.
Thank you. I don't know, Adam or Kyle, if either one of you wanted to respond to Councilmember Alawas's question or concern about the long-term financial viability. Any thoughts on that?
And Kyle can clarify, the council member during a briefing, we had just a quick conversation, and obviously when you have personnel costs associated with the city, you have the potential for retirement costs that can fluctuate. Of late, CalPERS has done very well, I believe, as Kyle presented, but it does have the potential for future liability, just staffing in general. As Kyle mentioned in his staff report presentation this evening, the actual operational cost as proposed by staff in here doesn't have an impact. We can take the mayor's comments into account for reuse of a vehicle if we have one, I think at quick look, we didn't off the top of our head, but doesn't mean that we can't find one, Mayor, and try to look at some of those uses. But on the personnel side, this would be a reallocation of funding that's in the contingency account moving over to personnel. So for the foreseeable future, there wouldn't be that negative potential impact. But as the council member states, potentially in the future as it relates to pension liabilities, there could be an additional liability.
May I ask a question since, Captain, can you come on for a sec? So in my tenure, we've authorized another 8 officers. When I started, we have 52 officers that we have allocated, and then we allocated 8 more since. Not that all the seats are filled, but we've allocated for that. When your officers are driving around, do they report anything from that they see wrong to your code enforcement folks?
Yeah, that does happen. Obviously, their focus is a little more public safety oriented and less the, that portion of the broken windows theory. But yes, they do. Code enforcement gets a variety of, it's information from a variety of sources. Sometimes it's police officers within the city, sometimes it's other city employees, sometimes, many times, it's neighbors, people who are in that area. And oftentimes it's themselves too, seeing things that are present.
So we have more eyes than just 2 officers?
We have more eyes, but it's not so much just about eyes. It's about the ability to do the job, address things in a timely manner, and to be perfectly frank, if you increase the workforce by 33.33%, you're going to be able to get more things done. That's as simple and plain as I can put it. It's not just the eyes, it's the workload.
So it's more of an output, not an input. You got the input, not the output.
I thought I said output, but in any case, you have one more person when you add one person to 2. I mean, I have 2 code enforcement officers that handle 1,500, 1,600 calls per year, but the reality is those 1,500, 1,600 calls equate to about 5,000 or so when you add all the follow-up calls. Because one call, they will go out, find a violation, address the violation, they have to notice that individual, then they have to go back and do site visits. So that one call is functionally 3 calls. And that's on the plus side if you get resolution quickly. If you have someone that is not responsive, those follow-ups could go from 3 to 15, 20, 30, or if it's a complicated case, 50 or more.
So you have 2 code enforcement officers. Is there a supervisor that handles any of this as well?
You're looking at them. Normally, we have a management analyst. It was filled by a support services supervisor, but he left the city back in September of last year. So I've been sort of managing both.
So that seat
sides.
has not been filled then?
We are working on it. It's a bit of a unicorn, and so we're trying to find the right fit.
So you will be, so that's still available, so you will be filling that, so you'll have.
We will be filling that, yes.
So you'll have a full-time supervisor plus these 2 currently?
But that's not a code enforcement officer.
No, but it handles the workload and manages the process.
You want to describe a little bit of the changes we made with the business of that position, Captain? I don't want to give any misconceptions about the staffing changes that PD's made, but it was changed to an analyst.
Happy to. It will be a supervisor to a certain degree, but in no way would they be functioning as a code enforcement officer. First off, typically they don't have the required training. Secondly, they are managing a whole bunch of other things to include animal control related things, coyotes, much to my chagrin, peacocks. Sorry, I had to throw it out there. Management of the jail, obviously managing and supervising code enforcement, but that's one portion of what their job is. So it's not an apples to apples. We can't get more work out of that position relative to on-the-ground enforcement as it relates to code enforcement.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that it is helpful for the public to realize what you just said, Captain Stabio, was that it helps to provide additional resources to get that work done. But I don't want folks to forget that there is that process that you just described, that by having another person doesn't mean that tomorrow that house you called about is going to be instantly fixed, because there still is the process. But having another body means you could address more issues and have that wherewithal. So it is great to have that additional person to help with that heavy workload, and maybe also provide some education to our residents about what the Glendora Municipal Code is, because not many people know about parking on your lawn or whatever other, ordinance of the day that we want to bring up. So I think that that person will help with that workload, but I don't want to mislead the public that it's going to be an instant fix to every problem that they see, because there is a process, and if they were on the receiving end of that process, they would appreciate that it is a 3 or 4 step process. So, having said that, I will invite the council to make a motion.
I would move acceptance of this report and hiring a position of CPO.
I will second that.
Okay, invite everyone to vote.
One quick, Kyle, what's the exact verbiage you need?
I just wanted to clarify on the vehicle, right? So I know
Yes.
there's the motion to include not the supplemental appropriation, but looking at existing vehicles to see if there's something available.
Or is it to include a supplemental appropriation up to the amount specified, but council emphasis on trying to find an alternative solution?
Yeah.
That works for everyone?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
Friedel?
yes, that works for me.
Does that answer your question, Kyle?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. All right, it passes 4-1. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kyle. Okay, that takes us to item 15, consideration of a second amendment to the All City Management Services, Inc. agreement extending crossing guard services for an additional year for a total 3-year contract sum not to exceed $874,680. And our very own Glendora PD Business Services Manager, Julie Langer, to report. Welcome.
Thank you for saying that big, long slide right there for me. Good morning, or good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here to get consideration of a second amendment to our all city management contract. So a little background, back in 2011, the city changed from staffing our school crossing guards with police employees to contract employees. At that time, we obtained all city management services for that purpose. Since that time, the contract has been renewed several times and extended several times. Most recently, in 2024, we renewed that agreement again, and with the option of 4 additional one-year extensions. Last year in 2025 was our first one-year extension to include the 25-26 school year. So what All City Management Service provides us are crossing guards. They hire them, they train them, they take care of their schedules, and they equip their employees with the proper equipment. They are all cleared with a live scan criminal background. They also provide daily supervision, including when employees call out sick, they deal with staffing that corner to make sure that there's coverage. The contract provides 60 to 75 minutes of service in the morning and each afternoon every school day of the year at 14 different locations throughout the city. So prior performance, we've had them since 2011, and we have had no problems with them. Extremely low number of complaints. I haven't had any since I've taken over this contract. There are no other companies that actually provide this type of service, and we are very satisfied with the company. So the fiscal impact. The cost of the one-year extension, which we're requesting to cover the 26-27 school year, is $301,820.40. This is offset by a master joint agreement we entered into with the Unified School District, the Glendora Unified School District, back in 2024. They cover 50% of the cost of the 12 locations within their school boundaries. We have 2 that are part of Charter Oaks District. So they cover 50% of the cost for their 12 locations. This will offset the contract by $129,351.60. And it's already included, this cost is already included in the 26-27 adopted mid-cycle budget. So recommend that the council approve the amendment number 2 of the All City Management Services contract, extending services for the additional year for a total 3-year contract sum not to exceed the $874,680. To authorize the police chief to execute any necessary contingency in the amount not to exceed 5% of the contract amount, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement. Any questions?
Thank you. Mayor Friedendahl?
No questions. Thank you. Thanks, Julie.
Councilmember Elias?
Thank you, Julie. No questions for me, but I will just say as a mom with kids and go to our schools, I use these crosswalks where these crossing guards stand and thoroughly appreciate the service. I can say firsthand that this company provides excellent personnel. Not only, I would say, not low complaints. I mean, parents at the schools that my children attend love them. They are phenomenal. So
great to hear.
Love it.
It's
Thank
great
you.
to hear.
Councilmember Alawas?
Good report, Julie. I don't have any objections to this at all. In fact, all the crossing guards, as I go by, they always wave, which is always kind of nice. So no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yeah, just great update. And I just want to say thank you to the school board and their management team for the MOU that has, which we've never had, but has done some pretty good things for both of us. And I want to say thank you to the management team there that they have brought their shop into a fiscal shape, which is hard for any schools to, do, because budget cuts have been horrific. And it's not been an easy task, and it's not because of them, it's because of the system. And I just want to say thank you to, them for standing up, sharing in what their part is, because a lot of schools can't. And then that either means there's no guards or city XYZ will kick in and take care of it. And we have a partner here, and I just want to say thank you to what they have done. I support this.
Thank you. All right, if there are no further questions or comments, then I will invite a motion.
So moved, items 1 through 3.
Second?
Okay, I invite you to vote.
Did you? I thought maybe I was the only one that didn't come up.
All right, thank you. That passes 5-0. That takes us to item 16. First Amendment to the amended and restated memorandum of agreement for the Glendora People Movement Project. And coming back once again is Assistant Public Works Director Valerie Velasquez Santoya. Welcome back.
Thank you. Okay, so this item, sorry, no PowerPoint, but I'm just going to walk through this item. So it's a request to approve Amendment 1 to the amended and restated MOA between the city and the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments for the Glendora People Movement Project. The COG is partnering with the city in the project management and delivery of the Glendora People Movement Project. So tonight we are here to request approval of the amendment. The People Movement Project has been discussed and developed publicly over several years and includes a combination of urban trail improvements, first-last mile improvements, pedestrian and bicycle safety improvements intended to improve walking, biking, rolling, trail connectivity, and access to the Metro A-Line station. The project includes the San Dimas Wash Trail, Little Dalton Wash Trail, and the first last mile improvements on Glendora and Foothill Boulevard. and funding permitted Big Dalton Trail. The San Dimas Wash Trail is now moving into construction. That has started within the last week, and the Glendora Avenue and Foothill Boulevard are moving through design towards 100% design. So the amendment before council tonight is primarily administrative and financial in nature. It updates the agreement with the COG to reflect changes in funding and project management responsibilities. Specifically, the amendment documents the movement of funds among different phases within the project. It incorporates additional funds that were procured by the COG, removes the $315,000 in Green Street measures, as the city determined that it wasn't going to fit within this project, especially when we've got the large Finkbeiner project that is a short distance away from that. And so it also transfers grant management responsibilities for certain grants and earmarks from the city to the COG, so they'll take a heavier burden in that management as well. The amendment also documents the city's agreement to forward our programmed CIP and local return contributions to the COG in accordance with the funding schedule. Those are funds that were included in our budget and have been confirmed with Finance Department to be available to transfer so that they can continue with consultant agreements and the design and construction of the different phases of the project. And it's also important to note that the project is not fully funded for all phases. We're still looking for funds for the Big Dalton Wash. So the amendment also documents that the COG is not obligated to advertise a reward for construction unless we find the additional funds necessary for that phase. So while not new, I'll also take an opportunity just to provide some history on the project. The first last mile improvement as well as the trails have been discussed many times since 2018. We've had prior outreach with public workshops, stakeholder interviews, holiday stroll engagement, demonstration projects, commission presentations, bid board presentations, city council discussions with the latest one last February of 2025, as well as community surveys. Most recently, staff conducted outreach at the 24 Christmas Parade, the 25 Earth Day event, and also the Metro A-Line grand opening in September of 2025. So we also understand every resident may not have been available or participated in community engagement, but if anyone is interested, we do have the information available on the city website. It's under the cityofglendora.gov/capital projects. But again, tonight we're requesting that City Council authorize the city manager to execute Amendment 1 with between the City of Glendora and the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, and available for any questions.
Thank you, Valerie. Councilmember Thompson.
Excellent update, and I'm glad that you took time to speak to all of the points of contact that we've had that is now available on our website. I also want to make sure that everybody heard you, that these are grant funds. They're not just funds that we can reallocate to the current topic of the day, which is multiple things, because we could use 5x those times, or those grants. But these are specific funds that we have to use for this specific thing. And I think that's really important to be said, and hopefully people are, hearing that. But otherwise, this is great. I support it.
Councilmember Alawas.
Thank you, Valerie, for your presentation. One quick question. When do we anticipate having a final design?
We are working to get final design probably this summer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councilmember Elias.
Oh, sorry, for the first last mile. So the other projects,
Yes.
San Dimas is under construction.
I should have clarified.
Yes, yes. Little Dalton's later, Big Dalton's last.
Sure. Thank you.
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Mayor Friedendahl.
Hi, thank you, Valerie. Understanding that there's fluid design issues and the state has new requirements that have come forward recently, can I assume that the Foothill and Glendora Avenue intersection is looking at some design issues to make sure that we can facilitate turns and large vehicles and things like that as part of the upgrades in the program?
They did make some accommodations to make sure that the turning is going to be sufficient for our larger trucks. Yes, they did take a look at that, and we'll make adjustments.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, and I support this.
Thank you. All right, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I was,
Okay, I invite you to vote. Okay, that passes 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Valerie. And I know don't go too far, as you are up for item 17. Introduction and first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 10.17 of the Glendora Municipal Code regarding skateboarding, roller skating, bicycling, electric bikes, bicycles, electric scooters, and other motor-assisted mobility devices. And joining Valerie will be Captain Stabio. Welcome.
Thank you. To give Ms. Santoya a little bit of a break here, so that she's not taking up residence in front of the council tonight, I will do this portion of the presentation. Obviously, Ms. Santoya will be available for any questions that the council may have that are better suited for her expertise. Before we even get started, I would like to take a moment to direct the council's attention to an administrative oversight that we encountered just prior to the meeting tonight. If I could direct your attention to page 4 of the ordinance, where you see subsection I that defines nuisance. That portion is actually subset under subsection F. Those are the portions that should be under subsection I that define nuisance, and they were inadvertently left under F as a formatting error. So I wanted to make sure that you had that in your mind. By way of background, at the May 26, 2026 council meeting, we brought forth some concerns relative to e-bikes and received some council direction to look at 10.17 of the Glendora Municipal Code and address some pedestrian safety issues, focus on educational programs, and then differentiate between e-bikes on urban trails, natural trails, and develop some enforcement and diversion programs. Relative to council direction, what Valerie and I came up with was a diversion program, some parent involvement with that program, a school partnership relative to the education and diversion program, identifying some restricted riding areas, and then some fines and impound authorities for this particular municipal code. Some proposed ordinance highlights, key changes to 10.17 of the Glendora Municipal Code relate to definitions for e-bikes, e-bike classifications, which we'll get into a little bit later, defining what unsafe riding looks like instead of what was in the existing municipal code, which was somewhat vague and sort of hard to define. A diversion program, a fine structure, some impound authority, and then looking at some Americans with Disability Act exemptions. Relative to the updated definitions, I feel like I have said this repeatedly, but there are 3 classifications for e-bikes: Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3. Class 1, you have pedals. Class 2, you have pedals and a throttle. Both Class 1 and Class 2 bikes hit a top speed of 20 miles an hour. And then you have a Class 3 e-bike, which hits a top speed of 28 miles per hour, also has pedals. We've also taken some care to define what an electric scooter is, what an electrically motorized board is, what a electric pedal assisted mobility device or MPAD is, and those are all defined in the updates for the code. Of note, we don't have e-motos in here, and I want to address this specifically because the enforcement relative to an e-motorcycle is already well established under the vehicle code and didn't require any further definition relative to an e-bike, or at least this portion of the code. One of the things I want to make clear to the council and to anybody here that might be watching at home is that this is it's as much for enforcement as it is for education. Many of the young folks that we have out riding e-bikes, they don't necessarily know any better, and they may not be getting the best type of information, whether they get it from their friends at school or the person that sells them the e-bike or social media or TikTok or whatever other social media platforms there are that I'm not familiar with. Those things may not necessarily be accurate. What I can guarantee is the program that police department personnel are developing and have almost put the finishing touches on, there won't be any guesswork left. They will spend a very solid hour working on what the laws are, what kids can and can't do, and then they'll focus on at least an hour of practical application where kids learn how to properly operate an e-bike. We're going to require parent participation in this program, and when I say it's education first, there is an enforcement component of that. Say for sake of argument, someone gets a citation for example, riding an e-bike on the sidewalk in the downtown area. In lieu of a fine for that first offense, they can attend the e-bike course, take 2 hours out of their Saturday. As long as they pass the course and demonstrate competency, we're going to waive that fine and we're going to dismiss the citation. Now, there are some limits to that. It's not like you can, get a ticket every couple of weeks and just go to the class and then you're fine. But we're going to be reasonable about it. We have also had some talks with the school districts relative to a certificate program. Obviously, that is a district policy decision, but the general school of thought is that if they want to allow kids to ride e-bikes to school, they may look at having those students who wish to ride their e-bikes attend this education program. And as long as they do that, they get to ride them to school. Obviously, again, that's a Glendora Unified School District and a Charter Oak Unified School District policy decision, but we've had those discussions. Relative to unsafe riding, we looked at unsafe speed, wheelies and stunt riding, racing, swerving into traffic. Really, the best way to describe it is you know it when you see it. And just like we don't write every single person a ticket that rolls through a stop sign at 1.5 or 2 miles an hour or stops past the limit line, we're going to exercise that same spirit of the law with this. The general rule of thumb, which was told to me by one of my training officers many, many years ago, is that if your mom is sitting in the seat next to you and she says, "Where's a cop when you need one?" that person should probably get a ticket. We're going to exercise that same degree of discretion when it's appropriate. And enforcement also when it's appropriate. Some proposed restricted areas. We took a look at where we have higher concentrations of people. Typically, those are going to be the downtown areas, the business improvement district that extends from Foothill to Bennett, Glendora to Grand. We looked at some options for dismounting and walking your bikes and signage requirements. Relative to schools, parks, and playgrounds, where you have a higher concentration of kids and the potential for someone to get hurt is a little bit greater, we looked at some restrictions with that. Specifically with school frontages, 100 feet from the beginning of the school frontage, so if you go to the edge of the school property, move 100 feet back. 1 hour before school starts, all the way through the school day to 1 hour after school gets out. You can't ride an e-bike, an e-scooter, any sort of electronically powered device, and if you're on a conventional bicycle, you're moving at a walking pace. Playgrounds and parks, no riding in designated areas. Class 1 and 2 bikes are permitted on designated pathways, but only at a safe speed. When you look at natural trails, and please, Valerie, feel free to jump in if I don't hit all the points here, because this is sort of her area. Traditional bicycles on natural trails are permitted. Class 1 e-bikes are permitted, Class 2 and Class 3 e-bikes. So that would be the pedal bike with a throttle control that hits 20 miles an hour, and then the pedal bike that hits up to 28 miles per hour are not allowed on natural trails. Shared use urban pathways, I think I got that right. Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 e-bikes will all be permitted. There will be posted speed limit signs, and we did look at some speed limit potentials, but in any case, do not operate a vehicle that is not safe and prudent for conditions. For enforcement, as I said before, this is a component of the municipal code with a strong foundation of education so that we can hopefully make it safer and not have to exercise the enforcement, hopefully as frequently. Your first offense is $50. Your second offense within a 12-month period is $100. Your third offense within that same 12-month period is $200. Say for sake of argument, you get a ticket, you go to the diversion class, your next ticket would still be $100. Okay, we're going to dismiss the fine, but it doesn't mean that it didn't occur. Impound authority, this does give us some authority to impound e-bikes in accordance with existing law, just like we don't write everyone a ticket for going 2 or 3 miles an hour over the speed limit or even 5 miles an hour over the speed limit unless there's a significant reason that it makes it unsafe. We're not going to necessarily be impounding every single e-bike that we can. We're going to be judicious about this as well, but it does give us the authority and ability to do it outside of what already exists in the vehicle code. Next steps, we would like council to affirm that this is a California environmental quality. I'm going to mess this up. CEQA. If I just say CEQA, is that okay? This is CEQA exempt. Introduce the ordinance and adopt a resolution. For the functional boots on the ground, we're going to have to get signage, finish the educational curriculum, school outreach, and then engage in a robust public awareness campaign, because if people don't know about this, it's going to be very difficult for them to abide by some new regulations, so that'll be a large part of it. Recommend that the City Council find and determine that the proposed ordinance is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. Waive full reading by title and introduce for the first reading an ordinance entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glendora, California, amending Chapter 10.17 of Title 10 of the Glendora Municipal Code regarding skateboarding, roller skating, bicycling, electric bicycles, electric scooters, and other motor-assisted mobility devices in certain designated areas. Direct the preparation of a summary ordinance for publication and adopt a City Council resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Glendora, California, designating certain public areas as no skateboarding, roller skating, bicycling, electric bicycle, electric scooter, or similar activity areas pursuant to Chapter 10.17 of the Glendora Municipal Code. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond?
Just really quickly, before council asks questions and we look at making changes, just a special thank you to Captain Stabio and Valerie and Danny, our city attorney, for a quick turnaround and review. A lot of work went into what's before you this evening. They tried really hard to adhere to everything in the direction that council provided. So no matter how this conversation ends up, just a special thank you to those 3 individuals who spent a lot of time in a very short period of time to have this item before you within the timeline that the council requested. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Friedendahl?
Hi, thank you, Chris. And also, Adam, I'd like to add to the team that went outside to other cities to see what's going on and learned about and sat through many of those education alternatives. So it's a much bigger reach than that as well. So thank you all. A great report. I think a great solution. I'm a little concerned about not listing the e-motos, but you touched on that. I'll come back to that if I may. I think that our education and fine, and again, I'm not about collecting fines. I think our education process in lieu of as a diversion is excellent, but I don't think that that ought to be a bailout every time. At some point, if we have repeat offenders, shame on them, and maybe the consequences ought to reflect that. Definitely think that's the case. Certainly, rules of the road are important, and we see lots of e-bikes and e-motos being used and skateboards and things without rules of the road and flow and direction being adhered to. So those need to be important items in my mind. I particularly like the trail discussion. Class 1 on trails, great. 2 and 3, no. So thank you for that. I come back to on the e-motos, if you believe that we have already established California Vehicle Code regulation to cover e-motos, I trust you. I would ask that we also include neighborhood electric vehicles, AKA golf carts, in that same discussion, and that enforcement needs to begin on that and be forthcoming on both of those items, so that we may not have to come back and address those separately. But to not ignore those would be a huge mistake. So I think we need to include those, please. With that, no other questions, and thank you for the great work.
Mayor, if you don't mind, just for staff's clarification on the NEVs and the golf carts, is your indication to include them in this conversation? I know staff was going to come back with a separate discussion because there's different California Vehicle Code and planning requirements and everything else for those. But
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, my apologies. I just wanted to make sure that when staff comes back that we're all on the same page, that that'll be a separate agreement and we can look at those enforcement items. Or is your comment that while that item is preparing to come back, that we look at enforcement opportunities for those other devices on the road that do not meet the California Vehicle Code?
Well, yes, and if we find that there's not suitable California Vehicle Code for neighborhood electric vehicles and e-motos, we need to look at that.
Yeah.
I don't want to ignore those two categories, but I also recognize throwing them in there, trying to include them here, clutters this up and doesn't work. So I respect that. But if there's enough California Vehicle Code currently for NEVs and e-motos, maybe we don't have to do extra work. So I'll trust that assessment from the professionals.
So you're saying that it's an important discussion, but you're not adding them to ordinance
That's correct.
10.17? Okay.
That's
I think
correct.
That's what you want to clarify.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Councilmember Alawas.
My hat's off to staff. I think you guys did a great job in such a short amount of time capturing council's discussion, because we had a lot of discussion points going on, and you did a great job. I want to just extend just briefly on the e-motos. So you're saying right now that we already have state law that that PD can go after and enforce. Has PD been enforcing e-motos?
The short answer is yes. But as in life, it's not as simple as what you might think. Can we enforce the regulations relative to an e-motorcycle? Yes, absolutely. They're not a registered vehicle. They don't have, taillights, headlights, turn signals, rear view mirrors. They don't have a horn. Most often, the folks that are riding them are probably under the age of 16, nor do they have a Class M1 endorsement to ride a motorcycle. That being said, we have to evaluate the public safety risk when that youngster, who's too young to make a good decision, decides to go ripping up the street at 50 miles an hour, and we decide to flip on the lights and siren and chase them. To quote my boss, the juice sometimes just isn't worth the squeeze. And sometimes you have to pick your time and place to exercise that enforcement, and it's a balancing act. So do we enforce it? Yes. Do we enforce it at all costs? No.
Just one point of clarification, Captain, if you would. I know with some of the e-bikes, some look like e-motos and they're not. Others don't look like, e-bikes and they're e-motos, and just the importance for the public, if they have questions or see something, to call and let us know that that's the issue. Do you mind just kind of touching those areas as well?
No problem at all. Perhaps the biggest distinction between an e-moto and an e-bike, e-motos do not have pedals. They have foot pegs. So as a general rule, if it has foot pegs and not pedals, it's an e-moto and you can't operate it on the roadway. Those are specifically think of it like a dirt bike, except with an electric motor as opposed to a two-stroke motor from back in the day. Obviously, if anybody has questions, call the PD. We have some folks that are very well-versed on what the requirements are and what can be ridden on the roadway or the highway, and what has to stay off the road. Generally speaking, if it's got foot pegs, it shouldn't be on the road unless it is either a moped or a motorcycle designed for street or dual-purpose use.
Okay, thank you for that. We have on there for urban trails, we are allowing up to Class 3 on urban trails, and if they abide by speed limits. Do these bikes, Class 3s, do they have speedometers?
A Class 3 does, yes.
Okay, and do we want to allow them on urban trails?
Council policy decision there. It looks like Valerie's going to come up and say something.
I know that there was discussion on that last time, but I think that is the intent, especially as we're working with the trails, with the San Dimas, the People Movement Trail, when you're going to have different groups utilizing these trails, and they're intended for accessibility, able to get from one place to another. So I think that, and a lot of times these trails are wider, and so they allow for, different users on the trail from a safety aspect. So I believe we do want to let them utilize it. The ordinance does say, though, that they need to be yielding to pedestrians, so you will see that in the ordinance as well.
Are we going to get PDE motos with lights and sirens to go after them?
Only if
include it
the
in next
captain
year's
agrees
budget.
to ride them first.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Last item, being a father, grandfather, and we have parks and all the little ones are running around, we're allowing bicycles to be ridden in the parks themselves, according to this. And I would rather see dismount and walk your bike in the parks and not ride. There's no reason to ride your bike in the park, if I'm reading this correctly. You said on designated paths in the park. I don't think there should be any designated paths in a park when you have a little child running around not paying attention to what's going on.
You could have, for example, near Gladstone Park, you could have part of the urban trail that runs through the park that they may be allowed on. So I don't know if that was the intention there for sure, but there may be some areas where there is a bike path that runs through a park like Gladstone.
If it's an urban trail, that's
Sure.
done separately.
Yeah,
But a park itself,
absolutely understood. You were just saying, is there any possibility? So it is definitely, if we don't have clarification on,
Well, so the resolution is where the designation takes place for each specific area within a park that you could make a change if you feel that the resolution isn't sufficiently providing the trails or the specific areas within a playground that are allowed for use of the e-bikes.
so you're saying what?
so the city parks and playgrounds, as city attorney said, is all pedestrian walkways, playground areas, picnic areas, sport court frontages, and other pedestrian-oriented areas within city parks, including but not limited to Finkbeiner Park, Louis Pompey Memorial Sports Park, South Hill Sports Park. Of other parks, city-owned parks and playgrounds, the use of bicycles, electric scooters, electric motorized boards, motorized scooters, skateboards, roller skates, and inline skates is prohibited within such area. It says bicycles in class 1 and 2 electric bicycles may be operated on specific park pathways. So
So you could take out the reference to playground areas. So you can't drive it in a playground area,
Yeah,
or
but it also says, though, that on specific designated areas, they can ride them.
it basically eliminates everything in a park with the exception of specifically designated areas should those exist.
and these are the designated areas are in the resolution for this.
But you cannot ride them.
That's
Where you are allowed to ride them, but it also prohibits them from certain areas.
May I jump in? Could we add, they may be operated at a walking pace?
Well, dismount and walk.
Well, or if you can ride a bike at a walking pace and pay attention, you're not going to likely run things over, and people can see you coming with some avoidance.
So I'll read that again for city parks and playgrounds, which if you look at the resolution, as the city attorney pointed out, it's in section 2, subsection D, which is titled City Parks and Playgrounds. So the areas I will read are where they are not allowed. All pedestrian walkways, playground areas, picnic areas, sport court frontages, and other pedestrian-oriented areas within city parks, including but not limited to, and then we list basically every park in the city. It talks about the use of bicycles, electric scooters, electric motorized boards, motorized scooters, skateboards, roller skates, and inline skates is prohibited within such areas, which it just referred to at all times. Does say bicycles, class 1 and 2 electric bicycles may be operated on specific park pathways at safe speeds. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a specific park pathway, although we talked about the urban trail, which would be open to all bikes that may go through Gladstone Park, for example. Valerie, do you remember the specific park or bike pathway
That's
that
what I
may
was
be in a
referring,
park?
that's why I was referring to that comment on there.
Oh, great question. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but if there is a designated area where we do allow bikes.
Well, and I've ridden my
Yeah.
bike from one end of town to the other, and I've cut across the pathway going through Finkbeiner to get
That's
from
correct.
one corner to the other, but done it at a safe speed, and
Yeah.
so.
We would have to
Post signage.
for specific allowed areas for that to even be allowed. But
So
a
it's-
general rule of thumb is it's not allowed in any park area unless we specifically post signage for areas where it's allowed. Is that,
I would say it's not allowed unless we say that it is.
there you go.
Perfect.
We,
Will
we
that be
confuse that to
clear?
no end, but all right, here we go.
This is like 5 minutes of total confusion, and I hope that it won't be as confusing in the parks, because I do agree with him. Like
Yeah.
there's kids at parks.
So unless
they
it's
should be-
specifically designated and posted that riding is allowed, generally speaking, this outlaws all usage of those vehicles in parks.
So hypothetically, if you wanted to add a sign saying you can ride someplace, does it come back to us, or do you do it on your
No,
own?
it's in the resolution.
That PD gets to do it on their own, or traffic does?
Public Works would be repostable for signage, but the ordinance works that if you want to add an area that you cannot ride, we would add it to the resolution. That would be a council policy decision. Otherwise, these areas that are approved would have to be signage and posted.
And the resolution can be updated from time to time. It makes this more functional, practical, easier for you to implement as this progresses, and as you see through experience how it's operating in practice. You can update the resolution easily.
I move that we give Captain Stabby an e-moto with sirens and lights and everything.
I second that.
I'm good, thanks.
All right. Councilmember Elias?
Thank you. I floated this with my 15-year-old, and I am the uncoolest, most just horrific mother ever in the history of Glendora. So happy to have that title yet again. I think this is great. I really hope that our public awareness campaign is, as Adam likes to say, robust. I think that the more we can get people on board, parents specifically, like kids like my own, will never be on board. So I think it will be incumbent upon parents to be enthusiastic about it and explain the safety concern. And, we're not trying to, be a stick in the mud. We just want to keep everybody safe. So, I think this is fantastic. I support it, as upset as my own child is going to be. I think this is fantastic. So thank you. Appreciate all the hard work that everybody put into this.
Mr. Speedy Bike Rider himself, Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, that's right. My electric bike that I have. I think it's great job. It's going to be a work that comes back probably two or three times. I'd like us to urge you, the Public Works, whoever, the marketing people, get these signs going. I'd like to do something crazy on street sidewalks. Put it in pink or red, or I don't know if the attorney says it has to be in a certain color, but I'd like it to be something that will catch everyone's eye. And if it's purple or whatever we can do, Claremont apparently has huge,
They're larger white signage. on
larger
some-
white, and I'm good with white, but white is such a common thing that if we can do something bold and bright, then I'm all in. But I like this.
Bold.
Bold. Okay, understood, sir.
We'll see what the California Vehicle Code allows us to do, but
And for you, you don't care.
I am colorblind. Yes, that's
So you're
correct.
colorblind, so it's no big deal.
You have to learn to read real young, yeah.
So I suspect the signage, if we're talking about signage, is going to be have to be pretty specific. Black lettering, white backface, certain size. But if we're writing it on the sidewalk, like in the downtown area, I would obviously defer to council and to Valerie.
I mean, are you asking?
No, we'll make it as bold.
I mean,
and
I don't know the
bright
law,
as-
but I just
as
want it big,
possible in
bold,
accordance with-
and crazy so people will see it. And some kids, well, I didn't see that. Well, come on. You know, Boise State is known for their blue football field. And it was a mistake at first. Now it's everything. So let's just ramp it up and make sure that they see it. So,
Understood.
That's all.
Okay, and if you get too crazy, they're going to send the new community preservation officer after you.
Well, that
Or,
could be true.
No, the only question I had was in terms of the education. I know that you've included that as a diversion, but is there an opportunity if there are kids who want to be educated before they get in trouble to enroll in those classes and to partake of that and find out what they should be doing?
That's a great question, and the answer is absolutely. So, as I said before, we're still putting the finishing touches on it, but generally the idea is to be putting this on at least once a month, maybe a little more than that leading up to school. So the opportunity for education for anybody who wants to attend that class. Obviously, it's geared a little bit more towards those under the age of 18, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. But really, anybody's welcome because knowing a little bit more is never a bad thing.
No, and I know after our last discussion that there were some residents that shared with me that they would be interested in finding out. So I think having that opportunity would be great. And I know that you mentioned in there that obviously it's up to the schools to decide about the permit or certificate, but if that could be a feature that is offered, I think there would be people that would like that educational piece. So.
I can tell you that I have a very enthusiastic school resource officer who loves this program and wants to see it work and will be a fantastic instructor.
No, I know she will, so that is good. Yes. All right, any other questions or comments?
I'll move items 1 through 4.
Second.
I'll second.
With the requested amendment to the ordinance,
The clerical error that Captain mentioned, that's all.
to
Agreed.
the definitions.
Agreed.
Okay, that passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Captain Stabio and Valerie. All right, that takes us to item 18. Approve membership and public risk innovation solutions and management, AKA PRISM, and authorize execution of the PRISM Joint Powers Agreement and related program memoranda of understanding. Deputy City Manager Marie Ricci to report. Welcome, Marie.
Thank you. Adam saved the best for last, so we'll get through this. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Tonight, I'm bringing forward a recommendation for the city to join PRISM to replace our current membership in ICRMA effective July 1. I'll walk you through why we're making this change and what we're getting for the money and what actions we're asking you to take tonight. Nope. I need my presentation.
So much for the best for last, huh?
I can walk through it without a presentation too.
We'll get through it.
I'll start off. So for background, the City of Glendora has been an active founding member of ICRMA starting back in 1986. We've been with them for nearly 40 years, and at its peak, ICRMA had 35 member cities sharing costs and risks together. Today, only 10 members remain in there as of July 1. And recently, we found out the City of Bell and Linwood also submitted their notice of intent to withdraw. So as of June 30th of 2027, they'll be down to 8 members. The City Council took a proactive step on March 11th, 2025, by providing ICRMA notice of our intent to withdraw effective June 30th, 2026. And that gave us a full year to explore alternatives without being locked in. And tonight is a result of that evaluation. A little bit more information of why we took this step was that in fiscal year 2021, our insurance costs were $1.5 million. By fiscal year 2024, we were paying $3.2 million for insurance coverage. In fiscal year 2025, we paid $3.8 million for insurance coverage. Recently, we increased our self-insured retention, which is essentially our deductible, from $250,000 to $2 million, and only paid $2.5 million, saving $1.1 million. And that money we pushed towards more preventive maintenance programs on our streets, sidewalks, and tree trimming programs. So, sorry. It should be slide 3 for coverage comparison. Oh, there it is. So tonight we're presenting for you a proposal that shouldn't exceed $2.8 million. And for that, the following coverage is what we would get, a lot more than what ICRMA was offering. For property coverage, which is probably the most dramatic improvement, we currently have a coverage of $250 million. PRISM is offering $1.3 billion in coverage, which is 5 times more than our current limit and includes flood and terrorism coverage. For liability, both programs provide a $35 million excess tower and a $2 million self-insured retention. So that's comparable, but PRISM does offer access to up to $50 million if we need to. And the fact of the matter is $1 million 5 years ago is not $1 million today. It doesn't go as far. And so we're finding that more claims that are in the millions are taking more coverage than what was originally anticipated. For workers' compensation, our current employer liability limit is $2 million, and PRISM raises that to $5 million, which is a meaningful increase in protection for the city. And lastly, for crime coverage, our current limit is $10 million with a $25,000 deductible, and PRISM provides $25 million, so 2.5 times the coverage, and cuts the deductible down to $2,500. Across the board, we feel that PRISM provides more meaningful and better protection over the city. So for financial considerations, the next slide. So for cost consideration, this is one of the main reasons why we decided to leave ICRMA and look at other insurance alternatives. Our current ICR premium is about $2.5 million. If we were to stay with ICRMA, that projected renewal cost would be over $3 million. And that's a significant jump, especially because the city has taken on more responsibility by increasing our deductible to $2 million. PRISM comes in at $2.83 million, which is kind of comparable. We expected an increase, and this sounds pretty reasonable given the increase in coverage that we'd be receiving. 2 things to note. PRISM's figure is subject to final underwriting. We don't have the full prices yet, so it could shift slightly, but it's our best current estimate. And second, there are no exit obligations, there are exit obligations we owe to ICRMA as we wind down our membership. Those fees are accounted for in our operating budget, and we would be paying for the next 3 years a total of $119,000, which is significantly lower than the original $350,000 that we anticipated. In those exit fees, they'll continue to cover the city for claims that happened in the past prior to July 1 of 2026.
Last slide. So our recommendation tonight is to approve a resolution approving the city's membership into PRISM, approve the joint powers agreement, approve the general liability program MOU, approve the excess workers' compensation program MOU, and authorize the city manager to execute all these documents with an effective date of July 1, 2026. So we also have our brokers that helped us procure this insurance with Prism Online. So if you have any specific questions about the policy coverages, they can answer them. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Elias.
Thank you, Marie. I want you to go back for a second and re-explain the exit fees and the price. And the reason why I want you to do this is because my understanding is that these exit fees are generally in the neighborhood of like $500,000 to $1 million. So I would like for you to explain to the public what you negotiated our exit fees down to.
So originally, when we submitted our notice to withdraw, it was over $350,000. And that's because our bylaws said that you would pay 100% the first year, 50% the second year, and then 25% the third year. That was just way expensive, given that the city has settled a lot of claims. We have also put in a lot of money to prevent more accidents and claims from happening. And so when I went back to ICRMA, I asked them to reevaluate the city's position, given that we increased our SIR to $2 million this current year, and they should recalculate what our exit fees should be based on what we paid in the last year of coverage with ICRMA. So it did go from about $350,000 down to $118,617. So the first year being $67,000, the second year being $34,000, and then the third year being $17,000.
That is significant. So thank you. That took work, and I appreciate that on behalf of the residents of this city. So thank you. That's it from me.
Councilmember Alawas.
Thank you, Marie, for your report. Want to let everybody know how long we've been working on this?
3 years.
And I know that our law firm has had some issues with our current coverage, and I'm sure they're happy that we're moving along. I know that one of your partners is probably really happy about that. But thank you for the report, and I know that we're going to be saving a lot more, and not just in funds, because we have the escalation of inflation and things of that nature, but also the ease of use and staff time, I would imagine.
Absolutely. PRISM has a membership of over 300 public agencies, and so there's a lot more resources that we can lean and leverage on to make it better here in the city and our community.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Thompson.
Thank you. Excellent report. And I think it's important for people, and I know it's late, but for people to know, going back to Frog and all of the issues that we have, yes, we're looking for funds, but we're saving funds. And this is an evidence of saving expenses. And I think the public needs to know that we're working both sides of the coin. Even the exit fee, we are at a minimum saving $500,000. And that needs to be told, and people need to understand that. So yes, we're looking for grants, we're looking for money, but we're cutting expenses wherever that we can, and this is one way. So thank you. Great job.
Mayor Friedendahl.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Marie. What a great termination to the work you've been doing, and a culmination, not termination, but great success. And thank you for that effort and that diligence. So I support this greatly.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie, for all your hard work on this. And so I would invite a motion.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Second. Oh, did he already make one?
Yeah, invite you to vote. All right, that passes 5-0. Very good. Brings us to the end of the agenda. Any other comments? Mr. Thompson.
I know it's late, but I have three.
Yeah, David's telling you it's late, so come on.
Marcia, thank you for sticking it out. But my comment is thank you for a spectacular piece on our GHS baseball team. We honored them last week, but the article that you wrote was a grand slam. So thank you for doing that. And I was just making sure that Karen was awake. The 4th is coming up. Let's have a great time. Honor everything that we stand for, but let's don't have fires. The third thing is and I think this is important, kind of related to what we talked about at the very front end. In 8 years, we've gone from spending $350,000 on streets maintenance. We're now spending $1.4 million. We started with 15,000 2018, and we're spending $1 million on streets. This year we have invested $1.2 million. So again, we're looking to invest more, but we're not just sitting here wringing our hands. We are investing a significant amount of funds, more than we were 7 or 8 years ago. And I think that city staff has done a great job of being able to do that. So thank you. That's all.
All right, thank you. Mayor Friedendahl, any other comments?
Good morning, everyone. It's going to be a great day, and thank you for the accommodations and the very productive work of staff and all the great support. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, any closing comments?
Just to echo the mayor's comments, really appreciate the work of staff in preparing to be able to do this with the mayor remotely, both at our last meeting and then tonight worked flawlessly. So everyone, a big appreciation. And then the agenda before you this evening represented thousands of hours of staff time across a number of items. And so sometimes they all culminate together. And so just my sincere appreciation to staff for moving forward with the council's strategic plan and items as they pop up, like some of the e-bike stuff. So appreciate it, and I know we'll be back for one more meeting in July before our summer break, but we'll also have a workshop and prepare for September. So still a lot of work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Danny, anything else? Any other staff? All right, well, with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 9:57, and we will adjourn in memory of Marshall Mao.